Chapter 2799. The sages and great sages unleashed their full cultivation and strength. However, what made them despair was that Ling Zhao's footsteps were slow and firm. Every step he took was as though he was stepping on a node between heaven and earth. Sui Meng Xiao Shua, WW Sui Meng Com Bang. Bang, bang. Every step Ling Xiao took had a vast heavenly might gushing out, causing those sages and great sages to cough blood and retreat. They were not even qualified to stand in front of Ling Xiao. They realized in despair that the gap between them and Ling Xiao was so big. Damn it! How can Ling Xiao be so strong? Hua Tianchong's face was extremely ugly, and his eyes were filled with horror. Who was Qin Miesheng? Qin Miesheng was a young genius of the divine world. Although he was slightly weaker than Hua Tianchong, he wasn't much weaker. Moreover, after activating the Golden Armor Battle Formation, he was able to unleash the battle prowess of a supreme Saint King. Even Hua Tianchong wasn't a match for Qin Miesheng. However, Qin Miesheng was still defeated by Ling Xiao. A crushing defeat. He was no match for Ling Xiao at all. The saints and saintesses of the 9 Imperial Gates, Space-Time Heavenly Gate, Heavenly Curse Sect, and other immortal sacred grounds looked even worse. They were all panicking and no longer had their previous calmness and pride. Ling Zhao's powerful attack had directly crushed all their pride. They realized in despair that whether it was 200 years ago or 200 years later, Ling Xiao was the chosen one who was powerful enough to make all his peers despair. Could it be that this boy has already broken through to the Heavenly Master Realm? He hasn't revealed any cultivation until now. He's only using his physical strength to fight the enemy. Heavenly Master Radiant Peak's eyes were also uncertain. He was extremely shocked and somewhat unable to accept it. As a Heavenly Master of the Hua clan, he had spent millions of years cultivating to his current realm, but Ling Xiao only used 200 years. Compared to Ling Xiao, it was as if he had lived a dog's life. Ling Xiao hasn't revealed any cultivation until now. He only threw out 2 punches, but one punch forced Heavenly Master Yufeng back, and the other punch defeated Qin Miesheng. This boy's momentum has already been established. Someone exclaimed in amazement, feeling extremely emotional. 200 years ago, the battle at the Lingxiao mountain range was incomparably tragic. Speaking of which, although the immortal Holy Lands were hostile to Lingxiao, they had only sent saints, great saints, and some ordinary saint rulers. At that time, Ling Xiao had just reached sainthood with his physical body. In the intense battle at the Lingxiao mountain range, he had even reached sainthood with his physical body, laws, nascent spirit, and heart force. At that time, Ling Xiao would need the help of monarch weapons and chaos treasures to kill a Saint King. Unlike now, whether it was a peak stage Saint King or a heavenly venerable, no matter how strong you were, to Ling Xiao, they were all suppressed with a flip of his palm. This kid must not be allowed to live. Heavenly Venerate Radiant Peak and the other Heavenly Venerate elders from the immortal Holy Lands exchanged a glance. They could see the cold, killing intent in each other's eyes. The talent and battle prowess that Ling Xiao displayed were too terrifying. They were shocked beyond belief and even felt a sense of panic. If they allowed Ling Xiao to continue growing, then not to mention their lives, it was likely that a few of the immortal sacred grounds of the divine realm would be destroyed. They were surrounded by terrifying killing intent. Cold light flashed in their eyes as if they were ready to strike at any time. Everyone, Ling Xiao is a member of the War God Temple. If anyone wants to die, then I don't mind fulfilling his wish. Lu Bai also saw that the elders were ready to strike. He smiled faintly as a sharp light flashed in his eyes. Heavenly Venerate Radiant Peak and the others sneered. They did not take Lu Bai's threat to heart at all. They came to an agreement almost instantly. Ling Xiao must die. Rumble. Ling Zhao's body exuded a vast aura. Many golden armored guards roared as they pounced on him. However, they were suppressed by the terrifying aura. They either turned into blood mist or were sent flying. No one could even force him to strike. Damn it! How can you be so strong? Qin Miesheng's face was extremely ugly. Looking at Ling Xiao, who was walking towards him step by step, he could not help but feel a sense of panic. How dare you? At the same time, in the void, Heavenly Venerate Yufeng's eyes darkened. Murderous intent surged around him as if there was a great destructive reincarnation aura spreading out. Heavenly Venerate Yufeng threw a punch at Ling Xiao. The fist print was unparalleled and contained a trace of extreme emperor's aura. In an instant, it was like an immemorial sacred mountain, pressing down mightily. It was also a supreme emperor skill, the great reincarnation fist of obliteration. Qin Miesheng's great reincarnation fist of obliteration was passed down from Heavenly Venerate Yufeng. However, Heavenly Venerate Yufeng was known as the #1 supreme elder of the Samsara Temple. He had comprehended the Samsara scripture and many supreme emperor skills. His strength was extremely terrifying. Naturally, the great reincarnation fist of obliteration that he displayed was not something that Qin Miesheng could compare to. Previously, Heavenly Venerate Yufeng was pushed back by Ling Xiao's punch due to his carelessness. This made him extremely angry. Now that he had attacked with the great reincarnation fist, he wanted to suppress Ling Xiao directly. Great reincarnation fist of obliteration? Now that's interesting. It's not easy for you to cultivate this emperor art to the greater mastery stage. Ling Xiao's eyes lit up as he smiled faintly. Ling Xiao felt a sense of threat from Heavenly Venerate Yufeng's punch. At the same time, his blood began to boil. It was always good to have a challenge. If the Samsara Temple was filled with weaklings like Qin Miesheng, it would be meaningless to kill them. Although Ling Xiao looked calm and indifferent, his heart was filled with a frenzied killing intent. The Samsara Temple had touched his reverse scale by forcing Shui Wei to marry Qin Miesheng. Anyone who touched the reverse scale of a dragon would die. Today, not only was he going to take Shui Wei away, but he was also going to establish his dominance in the Samsara Temple. He was going to kill them until their blood flowed like a river. At the same time, he was going to tell the entire divine world that Ling Xiao was back. Rumble. Facing Heavenly Venerable Imperial Wind who was looking down from above, purple chi rose around Ling Xiao's body, primal chaos mist pervaded the air, and a powerful fist intent burst out majestically. Ling Xiao threw out a punch. The void shattered and divine light was dazzling. It was as if an ancient world had appeared. Ling Xiao's punch seemed to have penetrated the endless space-time, the past and the future. It contained the aura of civilization and time. It wanted to shatter the reincarnation era and create an immortal world. The epic fist. Every time Ling Xiao used the fist of the epic, he would gain new insights. Now that he was facing the great Samsara fist of obliteration, his fist of the epic seemed to sublimate again, nurturing a trace of the concept of Samsara obliteration. Rumble. The entire sky above the reincarnation mountain was shaking. Everyone saw that the collision between Ling Xiao and Heavenly Venerate Yufeng had caused the surrounding void to shatter. Divine chains of order that contained immortal runes shot out from the void. Vast emperor aura gushed out and shrouded the entire Samsara Temple. A powerful force exploded. It was the supreme emperor array of the Samsara Temple. At this moment, no one activated the power of the emperor array. However, because the collision between Ling Xiao and Heavenly Venerate Yufeng was so terrifying that it almost destroyed the entire Samsara Temple, the Emperor Array automatically activated and sealed the shattered void. Chapter 2800. Rumble. Destruction, reincarnation, civilization, epic. All kinds of mysterious great Tao laws intertwined as the vast fist essence collided. In the eyes of the crowd, it looked like two brilliant balls of light were colliding, but it also looked like two ancient worlds were merging. This was the battle between Ling Xiao and Heavenly Master Yufeng. It was the battle between the epic fist and the great Samsara fist of obliteration. Although the epic fist that Ling Xiao had comprehended was not an emperor technique and did not incorporate the great emperor's origin that he had comprehended, it was the supreme fist principle that he had cultivated and merged with all kinds of techniques. It was also the most suitable Tao for him. When Ling Xiao used the epic fist, he could unleash his strongest combat strength. The battle between him and Heavenly Master Yufeng was extremely intense. Divine light trembled in the void. In an instant, the two of them threw out thousands of punches. Each punch contained the power to kill a sage king, causing them to be shrouded in a layer of terrifying storm. That terrifying power even triggered the automatic defense of the Thousand Tribulations Reincarnation Grand Formation. Vast and mighty Emperor Aura rose, and the aura was terrifying to the extreme. Everyone looked at the scene of the battle between Ling Xiao and Heavenly Venerable Yufeng in the void, and their eyes revealed incomparably shocked expressions. Young Master, how did you become so powerful? Heavenly Master Yufeng is known as the strongest person below the Emperor realm. He is also the leader of the Supreme Elders of the Samsara Temple. He has cultivated several powerful Emperor techniques and even comprehended the reincarnation scripture. Does this mean that young Master has also broken through to the Heavenly Master realm? Shui Wei's eyes widened and were filled with shock. Heavenly Masters are nothing. Ling Xiao is the future 10th Emperor of the human tribe. Shui Wei, you will be the Empress by then. These audacious bastards dare to offend the 10th Emperor of the human tribe? They don't know what's good for them. I think we should kill them all. The white dragon horse sneered. Don't talk nonsense. Although young Master is powerful as far as I know, the Samsara Master has most likely taken that step. Young Master will be in danger if he continues to stay here. Shui Wei's cheeks turned red and she said worriedly, that step? Emperor? The white dragon horse trembled and widened its eyes. Suddenly, it felt a chill on its back. It should be. Shui Wei said as she nodded solemnly. Then let's run. Ling Xiao should have had enough of acting cool. Let's spare these bastards from the Samsara Temple first. We'll kill them later. The white dragon horse laughed dryly. It kept looking around with its sneaky eyes, feeling as if there was a pair of invisible eyes watching everything that was happening around it. Rumble! A blazing explosion rang out in the void, causing the surrounding sky to tremble violently in an instant. Emperor Yufeng's figure directly flew out horizontally. A huge bloody hole appeared on his chest. The fierce and vast fist intent lingered around it, causing his injuries to be unable to heal. Even now, you still can't find your own path. You are no match for me. Ling Xiao said indifferently with a calm expression. What? Emperor Yufeng was actually defeated by Ling Xiao? Someone exclaimed in a trembling voice. Heavenly Venerable Yufeng was one of the strongest experts in the Samsara Temple. If even he was defeated by Ling Xiao, who else in the Samsara Temple would be a match for Ling Xiao? Impossible. How could he possibly worship Shizuan? Ling Xiao, I'll definitely kill you. Qin Miesheng's eyes were filled with disbelief. His pale face became distorted and crazy as he roared in his heart. Ku Rong, capture that bitch Shui Wei. Didn't he say that Shui Wei is his woman? Very well, I'd like to see if he'll die for Shui Wei. Qin Miesheng suddenly transmitted his voice, which was filled with a monstrous killing intent. All right. An old voice sounded. In the next moment, Shui Wei sensed an extremely great threat approaching her. Immediately, a gleam of light flashed through her eyes, and the tremendous power of samsara around her surged. It turned into a black streak of light and suddenly slashed towards her back. Swoosh! An extremely old figure silently appeared behind Shui Wei. He smashed the black sword radiance with his palm, and then reached out to grab Shui Wei. Empyrean withered glory? Shui Wei's face changed slightly. In an instant, blazing sword chi rose from her palm, and a black ancient sword burst out with a peerless sharpness, slashing at Empyrean withered glory. Shui Wei, you're no match for me. Empyrean withered glory said calmly. He reached out to grab the black ancient sword, and then hit Shui Wei with his palm. Shui Wei's body shook violently, and she was sent flying. Her face was slightly pale, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. You're courting death. Ling Zhao's eyes were filled with a monstrous killing intent. He punched at Empyrean withered glory. Endless purple lightning rose, and the punch contained a murderous intent that could destroy everything. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Empyrean withered glory's face changed, and he looked solemn. He did not dare to take Ling Zhao's punch head-on. In an instant, he waved his sleeves, and thick branches suddenly appeared, wrapping around Ling Xiao like vines. At the same time, Empyrean withered glory shifted the void and grabbed at Shui Wei. As long as he had Shui Wei in his hands, Ling Xiao would definitely hold back. Samsara Temple, why do you have to force me? Shui Wei looked at Empyrean withered glory, and there was a trace of loneliness in her eyes. The blood at the corner of her mouth was a ghastly sight, and it made one's heart ache. Rumble! In an instant, blazing light burst out from Shui Wei's body, and 3 mysterious runes appeared around her. They were filled with the aura of samsara. They were extremely simple, and they contained a mysterious Taoist rhyme. This is Samsara Dao Seal. Empyrean withered glory trembled, and there was a look of disbelief in his eyes. He could not help but exclaim, boom, boom, boom. The 3 runes around Shui Wei's body instantly shattered, and Shui Wei's aura soared crazily. Shui Wei originally looked like an ordinary king sage, but after the 3 runes were shattered, her aura began to rise. Ordinary king sage, peak king sage, supreme king sage, Empyrean. The shattering of the 3 runes caused Shui Wei's aura to rise to the Empyrean realm before it gradually calmed down. Swoosh! Shui Wei slashed out a ray of sword qi in the air. The sword was extremely sharp and mighty, and it contained the will of samsara. It sent Empyrean withered glory flying. At the same time, Ling Xiao also shattered the branches and vines in the sky and flew towards Shui Wei. Young master, let Shui Wei fight alongside you today, okay? Shui Wei held a black ancient sword in her hand, and the sword qi around her rose. It was as if there was a trace of extreme Dao power that spread out, making Shui Wei look even more mysterious and powerful. The smile at the corner of Shui Wei's mouth was gentle and radiant, and it made Ling Xiao's heart skip a beat. Instantly, boundless pride surged within him. All right, Shui Wei, let's fight our way out of the Samsara Temple today. I'd like to see who dares to stand out. Ling Xiao laughed loudly, and the vast heavenly might around him gushed out, causing the surrounding sky to tremble. He and Shui Wei stood side by side like a pair of immortals. However, the 2 terrifying Empyrean auras caused everyone's expression to change drastically. Shui Wei was also an Empyrean expert. Apex. Chapter 2801. Shui Wei, are you betraying the Samsara Temple? Heavenly Venerable Yufeng's eyes were filled with shock and anger. He did not expect Ling Xiao's strength to be so terrifying, nor did he expect Shui Wei to break through to the Heavenly Venerable realm. How could this be? 200 years ago, Shui Wei had entered the forbidden land of Samsara to cultivate in seclusion. She had only just broken through to the sage realm after the reincarnation of 10,000 realms. How could she have reached her current realm in just 200 years? Ling Xiao's terrifying combat strength was even more unbelievable to Heavenly Venerable Yufeng. The reason why Heavenly Venerable Yufeng could become the leader of the Supreme Elders of the Samsara Temple and was even known as the strongest person below the Emperor realm was not only because he had comprehended the reincarnation scripture and cultivated many Emperor techniques, but more importantly, he had killed a Heavenly Venerable before. Heavenly Venerable Yufeng was famous in the divine world. However, not only did he lose to Ling Xiao, but he also lost miserably. Heavenly Venerable Yufeng even felt despair when he realized that Ling Xiao had the strength to crush him. However, he seemed to be using him to practice his fist techniques. That was why he could exchange so many blows with him. Otherwise, he would not be able to withstand more than a few blows from Ling Xiao. Once Ling Xiao and Shui Wei joined forces, who could stop them? If the 2 of them were to fight their way out of the Samsara Temple, the Samsara Temple would become the laughing stock of the divine world. Betray the Samsara Temple? I will not betray you. However, I am not willing to marry Qin Yexing either. Heavenly Venerable Yufeng, why do you have to force me? As long as you agree to let me and young master leave, I will beg young master to spare your lives. Shui Wei said calmly. Spare our lives? Pa, what a joke. Shui Wei, do you really think that Ling Xiao can do whatever he wants in the Samsara Temple just because he is the chosen one? Since you are determined to betray the Samsara Temple, don't be obedient and let me clean up the place. Heavenly Venerable Yufeng laughed in anger. The terrifying killing intent around him surged, causing the void around him to tremble violently. What chosen one? Ling Xiao is just a spy from the demon world. Everyone has the right to kill him. We can't let him wreak havoc in the Samsara temple. The Chinese are willing to lend a hand. Hua Tianchong sneered, his eyes incomparably cold. Behind him, heavenly venerable radiant peak stepped forward, his body exuding a vast aura. His eyes were incomparably cold as they locked onto Ling Xiao. The Chinese had chosen to side with the Samsara temple. Everyone's expression changed. The Chinese are no longer watching from the sidelines and are starting to target Ling Xiao. The Chinese, the 9 imperial gates, the heavenly curse sect, the space-time heavenly gate, the 5 elements heavenly sect, and the other immortal sacred grounds led by the Chinese could be said to be Ling Xiao's mortal enemy. 200 years ago, it was precisely because they coveted the heavenly Tao karmic luck and the wordless heavenly book on Ling Xiao that they sent experts to kill Ling Xiao at the soaring Sky Mountain range. Now that Ling Xiao had returned to the divine realm and displayed such terrifying battle prowess, their hearts were filled with shock and fear. Hence, they chose to attack Ling Xiao. Since they were already mortal enemies, they should completely exterminate the other party and not leave any future troubles. That's right. Ling Xiao, 200 years ago, you colluded with the devil race and killed the strong cultivators of the human race. Now, you actually dare to come back? Today, you will die without a proper burial ground. The heavenly venerate patriarch of the 9 imperial gates was a middle-aged man in a black dragon robe. He wore a flat crown on his head and looked extraordinarily dignified. Ling Xiao, you scum of the human race, die. Don't even think about leaving the Samsara temple today. A spy of the devil race and a scum of the human race. Everyone has the right to kill him. How can such a person be worthy of being the chosen one of the human race? Why don't we kill him and take the heavenly Tao karmic luck from him and give it to the true ruler of the human race? The heavenly venerate patriarchs of the space-time heavenly gate, the heavenly curse sect, the 5 elements heavenly sect, the darkness heavenly sect, and the annihilation temple all stepped forward. Their eyes were extremely cold and filled with killing intent. With the Chinese as the leader and the 6 immortal sacred grounds, a total of 7 heavenly venerates chose to attack and stood beside the Samsara temple. Together with heavenly venerate Yufeng and heavenly venerate Withering Glory, there were 9 heavenly venerates. The auras of the 9 heavenly venerates surged violently as their killing intent soared and faintly surrounded Ling Xiao and Xue Wei. Do you really think the War God Temple is a pushover? 200 years ago, you conspired to take Ling Xiao's heavenly Tao karmic luck and the wordless heavenly book and framed him as a spy of the devil race. Now, you still want to do this? Can't you think of something new? I'd like to see who dares to behave atrociously today. Lu Bai sneered. A blazing fighting spirit rose from his body, and a dazzling light bloomed. It was as if a resplendent sun had risen, which made his aura become incomparably powerful. Even though he was facing 9 heavenly venerates, he still did not show the slightest fear. Lu Bai, it seems like we've been too kind all these years. It was a mistake not to exterminate the War God Temple. Your War God Temple has been hiding evil and colluding with a scum of the human race like Ling Xiao. I think there's no need for it to exist anymore. Today, we'll wipe out the War God Temple. Heavenly Venerate Radiant Peak sneered. Lu Bai, you've just broken through to the Heavenly Venerate realm. You haven't even stabilized your cultivation, yet you still dare to stand out? You don't know what's good for you. Today, you and Ling Xiao will be buried together. The Heavenly Venerate Ancestor of the 9 Imperial Obelisk also said coldly. The situation had changed too quickly. Everyone's expression changed drastically. Was there going to be a great battle between Heavenly Venerates in the Samsara Temple today? No one had expected that so many things would happen during Qin Mieshing and Xue Wei's wedding. The immortal sacred lands were determined to destroy Ling Xiao. Even if Ling Xiao had the battle strength of a Heavenly Venerate, together with Xue Wei and Lu Bai, there were only 3 Heavenly Venerates. How could they defeat 9 Heavenly Venerates? One had to know that this was the Samsara Temple, which was within the range of the myriad Samsara ray. Once the Samsara temple activated the Supreme Emperor ray, the Emperor's aura would erupt and even a heavenly venerate would die. Is the Chosen One going to die in the Samsara temple today? Everyone looked at Ling Xiao sympathetically. No matter what the immortal sacred land said, Ling Xiao's deeds had won the hearts of countless young people in the realm of the gods. This was especially so when Ling Xiao risked everything to come to the Samsara temple to take back his beloved Shui Wei. Many female experts were moved. How could such an affectionate, righteous, and talented Heaven's Chosen One be a spy of the demon race? However, no one dared to say anything. At most, they looked at Ling Xiao sympathetically and were filled with worry. They hoped that Ling Xiao could create a miracle and escape from the Samsara temple with Shui Wei. Chapter 2802. With just you guys? A bunch of sanctimonious hypocrites who want to scheme for Ling Xiao's heavenly Tao providence and the wordless heavenly book actually pretended to be so righteous. Disgusting. Less nonsense. If you guys want to fight, then let's fight. Lu Bai's body bloomed with blazing light. His white robe fluttered, and his style was peerless. He was like an immortal descending to the world, emitting an ethereal and otherworldly aura. His eyes were incomparably bright, and a strong fighting spirit emerged. The blazing light around him rose, making his entire body emit an immortal fluctuation. Facing 9 great heavenly venerable powerhouses, Lu Bai did not have the slightest fear. His eyes were as bright as the sun, and his fighting spirit was strong to the extreme. Lord War God, no need to talk so much nonsense with them. Their shamelessness, I've already seen it 200 years ago. These immortal sacred grounds of the human race have long changed. In their eyes, there is no longer the righteousness of the human race, no black and white, only interests. Ling Xiao said with a faint smile, his expression incomparably calm. Ling Xiao, you're at death's door, and you still dare to frame us? If it weren't for our immortal sacred grounds and the demon race fighting to the death, the divine world would have long fallen. A despicable and shameless person like you still dares to bewitch people here? Heavenly Venerable Yufeng said with a cold smile. Whatever you say. I also don't intend to talk nonsense with you guys. Don't you guys want to kill me? Very well. Then come at me together. Today, I'll first collect some interest and kill you old things, then visit each of you one by one to denounce you. There are too many immortal sacred grounds in the divine world. Ling Xiao said indifferently, and his eyes revealed a trace of cold killing intent. He was sneering in his heart. Sure enough, they were still as shameless as 200 years ago. Even though he had returned and possessed incomparably powerful combat strength, these people still did not think of letting him go. They were still plotting for the heavenly Tao providence on him and treated him as a mortal enemy. This was good too. This way, Ling Xiao also had a reason to kill. Young master, these people deserve to die. Shui Wei's eyes also revealed a trace of blood-red killing intent. The scene from 200 years ago was still vivid in her mind. Shui Wei recalled the coercion of those immortal sacred grounds back then. Those sanctimonious and shameless people did not care that Ling Xiao was the chosen one of the human race and insisted on killing Ling Xiao. 200 years have passed, they were still shameless people, and there was not the slightest change. Even with Shui Wei's indifferent and aloof disposition, killing intent couldn't help but arise in her heart at this moment, and she wanted to kill all these bastards before her. Immortal! Everyone, let's kill him! Emperor Yufeng's eyes turned cold. In an instant, the killing intent around his body boiled as he pounced towards Ling Xiao. Kill! 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 The eyes of many celestial masters were cold, and they exuded a vast and unparalleled divine path might. They were like celestial masters, suppressing and sweeping in all directions. They contained a mighty power that could destroy everything. Lose lords to suppress. Them to be together to and fight. Ling Xiao, I'd like to see if you can survive this time. Qin Miesheng's eyes were also full of killing intent. Vast light surged around him, containing the aura of samsara. Instantly, The void around him trembled violently. In his palm, there seemed to be a wisp of extreme emperor power blooming in the void. In an instant, the reincarnation mountain trembled violently, and runes and divine chains of order rose from all directions. The samsara power surged violently, and in the chaotic light, mysterious worlds appeared one after another. They intertwined endlessly, creating and destroying one another. Qin Mieshing had activated the myriad samsara formation. Rumble! The terrifying power of the formation exploded. It was to protect the samsara temple from being affected by the battle, and also to kill Ling Xiao. Otherwise, a battle between heavenly venerables would be enough to turn the samsara temple into ruins. The Thousand Tribulations reincarnation formation formed a vast barrier that contained a terrifying world-destroying force. It enveloped Ling Xiao, Xuewei, and Lu Bai. The 9 heavenly venerables joined forces to suppress Ling Xiao and Lu Bai. The terrifying power seemed to be able to destroy everything. Kill! A cold glint flashed in Xuewei's eyes. The black ancient sword in her hand instantly blossomed with unparalleled multicolored light. The power of annihilation surged violently as it charged towards heavenly venerable Yufeng. Ancient destroyer sword? The ancestor has given you the ancient destroyer sword? Damn it! Heavenly venerate Yufeng's face changed, and his eyes were filled with jealousy and anger. The ancient destroyer sword was a damaged extreme Dao Emperor weapon. It was said that the ancient destroyer sword was once the reincarnation emperor's sword. It was unparalleled in the world, and its power was unparalleled. However, it was broken in the primordial war, and only the power of a quasi-emperor weapon was left. However, the ancient destroyer sword was extraordinary, and it was second only to the emperor weapon in the Samsara temple. Heavenly venerate Yufeng had coveted the ancient destroyer sword for a long time, but he did not expect the ancestor to give it to Xuewei. Heavenly venerate Yufeng could feel the terrifying power of destruction surging from the ancient destroyer sword, and he felt a chill run down his spine. He did not dare to be careless, and he instantly activated all his cultivation to attack Xuewei. Rumble! On the other hand, Lu Bai attacked the heavenly venerate from the 9 imperial gates. The war god temple and the 9 imperial gates were mortal enemies. When the two of them met, it was as though they were enemies. Their eyes turned red, and incomparably powerful battle fluctuations erupted. The heavenly venerate ancestor from the 9 imperial gates had been a heavenly venerate for millions of years, and he was from the same era as heavenly venerate Yufeng. On the other hand, Lu Bai had just broken through to the heavenly venerate realm. However, Lu Bai actually gained the upper hand as soon as the two of them exchanged blows. Lu Bai's body emitted an immortal light, and his battle intent soared to the sky. He actually suppressed the heavenly venerate ancestor from the 9 imperial gates. However, it was not that easy to defeat the heavenly venerate ancestor from the 9 imperial gates. As a result, Ling Xiao was completely exposed to the other 7 heavenly venerate experts. Kill him! Heavenly venerate Withered Glory shouted coldly, and his body contained the power of life and death. One side was full of vitality, while the other side was pure death qi. In an instant, like a yin-yang taiji diagram, it turned into a huge palm print and pressed down on Ling Xiao. Withering Glory, Life and Death Palm. This was a supreme treasure technique created by heavenly venerate Withered Glory. It contained the great Tao of life and death, and its power was unparalleled. With just the two of you? Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. Although he had already displayed shocking combat strength, he had not actually used his full strength. Otherwise, no matter how powerful heavenly venerate Yufeng was, he would not be able to withstand 3 moves from Ling Xiao. Chapter 2803. Ling Xiao wanted to see who would jump out at him. However, he did not expect that the Supreme Elders and Samsara Master of the Samsara Temple would not show up. Instead, it was the 9 imperial gates and other immortal sacred grounds who could not wait any longer. In that case, he would announce Ling Xiao's return with the blood of a celestial master. Boom! Blazing purple gas rose around Ling Xiao. He took a step forward and instantly traversed the void. Terrifying waves of Saint Light surged around him as he threw a punch at Withering Glory Heavenly Master. Ling Zhao's punch was like an iceberg that split the waves and pierced through the 9 heavens. It contained an unstoppable power and exploded with a loud bang. The power of the Withering Glory Destruction Palm was unparalleled, but Ling Zhao chose to meet it head-on. His unparalleled fist will burst forth, shattering the Taoist rhyme of life and death destruction and shattering the palm print. Ling Zhao was like a supreme emperor who had descended from the 9 heavens. His fist was unparalleled and no one could stop his unparalleled fist principle. Not even Withering Glory Heavenly Master. What? Withering Glory Heavenly Master's expression changed drastically. He felt that Ling Zhao was 10 times or even 100 times stronger than before. He felt a fatal threat. Ling Zhao, don't be so arrogant. At that moment, the other 6 celestial masters attacked at the same time. Their eyes were cold, and their bodies were filled with the strongest killing intent. The moment they attacked, they used their killing moves. They actually used Supreme Emperor techniques at the same time. Many immortal sacred grounds had complete Supreme Inheritance and Supreme Emperor skills. Naturally, these celestial masters had also cultivated their Emperor skills. Moreover, their attainments were profound and almost all of them had reached the profound realm. 6 mighty divine rainbows came across the sky. They contained the mysterious concepts of nirvana, light and darkness, curse, 5 elements, and spacetime. They wanted to kill Ling Zhao completely. However, Ling Zhao did not even look at them. His fist was extremely overbearing and it followed him like a shadow. It pierced through the layers of the void and landed directly on Withering Glory Heavenly Master's chest. The Withered Glory Heavenly Lord's body shook violently and a mysterious aura of withered glory emanated from him. With Ling Zhao's fist as the center, spiderweb-like cracks appeared on the Withered Glory Heavenly Lord's body and blazing light gushed out from them. In the end, Heavenly Lord Withering Glory actually exploded. Bloody mist swirled in the void, revealing the Withered Glory Heavenly Lord's nascent spirit. It was frantically gathering the surrounding bloody mist, wriggling in the void like a ball of flesh, trying to reform a body. "You die first," Ling Zhao said nonchalantly. In an instant, a blazing heaven-devouring fire shot out from his eyes. It turned into a golden flame lotus in the void and enveloped Withered Glory Heavenly Master's head. Rumble! Endless flames burned fiercely and the flesh and blood in the void instantly turned into nothingness. Withered Glory Heavenly Venerate's primordial spirit had no way of escaping the range of the sky-devouring flames. It struggled violently and let out an incomparably shrill cry. "Save me! I don't want to die." Withered Glory Heavenly Master's soul almost left his body. His eyes were filled with intense fear. He had cultivated for so many years to reach the Heavenly Venerate realm and possessed the supreme power to dominate all living beings. How could he bear to die like this? The heaven-devouring flames contained the power of the origin of flames. Withered Glory Heavenly Master could not escape from being burned by the heaven-devouring flames. He could feel his life essence rapidly depleting and his primordial spirit almost dispersing. Rumble! At that moment, the 6 Heavenly Venerate experts arrived at the same time. The 6 terrifying rainbows contained the power of the Emperor's aura. It was extremely terrifying and directly blasted Ling Zhao's body. Ling Zhao did not resist at all. He chose to use his physical body to withstand the attacks of the 6 Heavenly Venerate experts. "You're courting death. Die!" The eyes of the 6 Heavenly Venerate experts were filled with cold, killing intent. The 6 of them had unleashed their most powerful Emperor's techniques. Under their joint attack, even a Heavenly Venerate would be blasted to pieces. Ling Zhao was courting death and dared to use his physical body to withstand their attacks. In their opinion, even if Ling Zhao did not die, he would be severely injured. Boom! The void distorted violently. Even with the support of the Myriad Tribulations Reincarnation Array, the void was about to be destroyed. However, in the next moment, the smiles on the faces of the 6 Heavenly Venerate experts froze. Ling Zhao's body emitted a resplendent purple glow. Chaotic light rose, forming an incomparably sparkling and translucent barrier around Ling Zhao. The strongest attacks of the 6 heavenly venerates blasted Ling Zhao's body, causing him to tremble. The layer of crystal barrier trembled violently as if it was about to shatter at any time. However, it did not shatter in the end, and Ling Zhao was not affected at all. The first one. Ling Zhao glanced at the 6 heavenly venerates and said, "Rumble." As Ling Zhao's voice fell, the heaven-devouring flames instantly incinerated the real spirit in Withered Glory Heavenly Master's primordial spirit. Withered Glory Heavenly Master's soul was destroyed and completely erased. The majestic power of Withered Glory Heavenly Master's primordial spirit was refined by the heaven-devouring flames and quickly integrated into Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness. Withered Glory Heavenly Master was dead. How is this possible? The faces of the 6 heavenly venerates turned ghastly pale in an instant. Their eyes were filled with horror. The crowd was also stunned. What did they just see? 7 heavenly venerate experts besieged Ling Zhao. Not only were they unable to do anything to Ling Zhao, but Ling Zhao killed Withered Glory Heavenly Master first. That was a heavenly venerate expert, a big shot at the pinnacle of the saint path. He was just one step away from reaching the supreme god realm. However, he died in Ling Zhao's hands just like that. Withered Glory Heavenly Master has fallen. Ling Zhao is actually so powerful? The crowd's voice was trembling. They felt their souls throbbing as they were completely frightened by Ling Zhao. Withered Glory Heavenly Master is only the first one. Soon, all of you will join him. Ling Zhao smiled faintly. Rumble. Purple energy rose around his body, and a vast amount of chaotic light gushed out. His black hair fluttered in the wind as he strode forward. The surrounding heaven and earth shook as if a celestial emperor was patrolling. He emitted a vast and invincible aura. When the 6 heavenly venerates saw Ling Zhao smile, their hearts could not help but tremble. How could Ling Zhao be so powerful? They could see that Ling Zhao's current cultivation was in the heavenly venerate realm and he had just broken through. However, he was able to kill Withered Glory Heavenly Master directly. What was even more unbelievable was that the 6 heavenly venerates' all-out attack and the supreme power of the Supreme God technique were unable to break through Ling Zhao's physical defense. How could they fight? Apex. Chapter 2804. Ling Zhao's body was shrouded in purple qi and dazzling runes. Divine chains of order intertwined and formed the mysterious figure of a primal chaos ancestor dragon. It coiled around him, making him look even more mysterious and majestic. After refining the Great Desolate's heart, Ling Zhao's body had fused with the Great Desolate origin, causing his primordial immortal body to completely revert from Hotian to Xiantian, reaching a state of perfection. The primordial immortal body contained the mysterious power of the primordial chaos. When fully activated, it not only possessed the supreme power to shatter everything, it was also immortal and indestructible. Therefore, even if the 6 celestial masters joined forces, they could not break through the defense of the primordial immortal body. Ling Zhao did not use his full strength earlier. He was only using Qin Mieshing and Yufeng Celestial Master as whetstones to practice his epic fist. He also wanted to see what the people from the immortal sacred grounds would choose. Now that the fish had taken the bait, Ling Zhao naturally did not hold back and began to attack with all his might. Withered Glory Celestial Master's death shocked everyone. Heaven and earth trembled as the great Tao laws intertwined. Blood rained down from the void. Withered Glory Celestial Master had turned into Tao and was completely erased from the world by Ling Zhao, but it still caused a terrifying vision of heaven and earth. Kill! Ling Zhao's eyes were cold as he leaped into the air, leaving behind dazzling afterimages. His unparalleled fist struck toward a Celestial Master of the Heavenly Curse sect. The Celestial Master of the Heavenly Curse sect's expression changed and his eyes revealed a look of panic. However, he could not avoid Ling Zhao's ferocious fist. He gritted his teeth and bit the tip of his tongue, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Buzz. That was his heart's blood. It twisted in the void, forming extremely strange runes. They seemed to come alive and flew toward Ling Xiao in an instant. Divine Destruction Curse, kill! The celestial master of the Heavenly Curse sect roared. More than half of the blood in his body disappeared in an instant. His entire body shriveled up, his aura weakened, and blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. On the other hand, Ling Xiao sensed a dangerous aura. In an instant, purple light bloomed around his body, and immortal and indestructible waves spread out. The primordial immortal body was the leakless real body, and it could defend against everything. At the same time, Ling Xiao's fist was burning with devouring fire, causing the surrounding space to shatter. Under the incineration of the heaven-devouring fire, the strange runes shattered one after another. Moreover, most of the runes were destroyed the moment they came into contact with Ling Xiao's body. There was a flash of light in Ling Xiao's eyes. He discovered that an extremely strange inscription had actually flowed into his body through his palm. It entered his sea of consciousness in a flash and made its way towards his soul. The Great Divine Destruction Curse was said to be an incomparably ancient curse technique of the Heavenly Curse sect. It was passed down from the Heavenly Curse Great Emperor in ancient times, and its power was incomparably terrifying. The Heavenly Curse sect's heavenly venerate ancestor was extremely fearful of Ling Xiao. Therefore, he risked suffering a huge backlash and directly used the Great Divine Destruction Curse. Ling Xiao's soul trembled slightly, and strange runes appeared around him. Like a spider's web, they wrapped around his soul. Moreover, traces of destructive aura surged, wanting to completely shatter Ling Xiao's soul. From the outside, Ling Xiao seemed to have stopped in the void, and his expression was slightly dazed. He has been struck by my Great Divine Destruction Curse. Kill him. The Heavenly Curse sect's heavenly venerate ancestor did not care about his injuries. His eyes were filled with excitement as he hurriedly shouted. Rumble! Murderous intent flashed across the eyes of the other 5 heavenly venerates. They took out extremely powerful weapons in their palms and instantly swept across the void. They contained traces of mysterious Emperor aura as they slashed towards Ling Xiao. Quasi-Emperor weapons. As the supreme elders of the immortal sacred grounds, although they did not bring their own Emperor weapons with them, they had all refined their own natal treasures. Quasi-Emperor weapons were extremely powerful and could pose a fatal threat to heavenly venerate experts. The 6 heavenly venerates all unleashed their most powerful attacks. They knew that Ling Xiao's physical body was extremely strong, so they did not hold back at all. They all used their most powerful forbidden skills and offensive treasures in an attempt to kill Ling Xiao. Freeze! Ling Xiao suddenly spat out a single word. His eyes were extremely clear, and there was no longer a trace of daze in them. A vast and ethereal power surged out from Ling Xiao's body. It was as if it had transcended the heavens and earth. It was like a mysterious river of time that slowly flowed through the heavens and the earth. It was eternal and immortal. Around Ling Xiao's body, the mysterious river of time actually appeared, forming an incomparably mysterious domain. Time-stop domain. The 6 celestial venerables seemed to have been fixed in the void, maintaining their attacking postures. There were even terrifying great path laws intertwining around them. Their thoughts seemed to have been frozen, and only a hint of fear involuntarily appeared in their eyes. Ling Xiao pointed his finger in the air. The light from his finger was extremely sharp, as if the river of time had merged into his finger. It seemed to be able to pierce through time and space and destroy everything. It was eternal and immortal. Age-extinguishing finger. Ling Xiao did not hesitate at all. After using the Time Sutra to create the time-stop domain and freezing the 6 heavenly venerables, he directly used the time-extinguishing finger. 2 streaks of blood-red light bloomed in the void. Ling Xiao's finger light first pierced through the Heavenly Curse sect's heavenly venerate old ancestor and then landed between the eyebrows of the Nirvana Shrine's heavenly venerate old ancestor. The 2 primordial spirits were instantly shattered. The 2 heavenly venerates' true spirits were completely annihilated. All that was left were 2 empty corpses. Ling Xiao waved his sleeves and immediately kept the corpses of the two heavenly venerates. Rumble. Although the time-stop domain was heaven-defying, the strength of the 6 heavenly venerates was also extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao had only frozen them for a breath's time. However, in a breath's time, Ling Xiao had already killed 2 heavenly venerates. Time Sutra? Damn it, Ling Xiao, this is the Time Sutra of the Space-Time Heavenly Gate. The heavenly venerate old ancestor of the space-time heavenly gate had a look of shock and anger. There was also a trace of deep fear in his eyes. He instantly recognized that Ling Xiao cultivated the Time Sutra, the inheritance that the space-time heavenly gate had been searching for a long time. Now, not only had Ling Xiao obtained it, but he had also cultivated it to such a terrifying level. He had frozen the 6 heavenly venerates and even killed 2 of them. The heavenly venerate old ancestor of the space-time heavenly gate was filled with greed. This was the Time Sutra, the supreme inheritance left behind by the flowing Time Emperor. Third Sect Master. Chapter 2805. The space-time heavenly gate claimed to be the orthodoxy of the flowing Time Emperor and the Void Emperor. However, they only had the Void Scripture from the Void Emperor and the incomplete chronological scripture. Otherwise, if the space-time heavenly gate had obtained the chronological scripture, they would be as powerful as the chaotic heavenly sect, the Destiny Shrine, the Myriad Buddha Temple, and the Samsara Temple. For more to go. Ling Xiao ignored the heavenly venerate patriarch of the space-time heavenly gate. His gaze swept across the 4 heavenly venerates as a murderous aura rose around him. Finally, his gaze landed on heavenly venerate Radiant Peak. The Chinese could be said to be the mastermind behind Ling Xiao's plot. Under the leadership of the Chinese, many immortal sacred grounds had besieged Ling Xiao 200 years ago. Later on, they had targeted the War God Temple and the Supreme Dao Palace. Therefore, Ling Xiao was determined to destroy the Chinese. Even if the Chinese had the bloodline of the Tiandu Emperor, Ling Xiao would not let them off. Despicable. Heavenly venerate Radiant Peak's heart skipped a beat when he met Ling Xiao's gaze. His expression was extremely ugly as he cursed. Despicable? Who can be more despicable than the Chinese? The destruction of the Chinese will begin with you. Ling Xiao sneered as a terrifying killing intent surged on his face. Do you think you can stop me if I want to leave? Radiant Peak snorted coldly. However, his tone was obviously weaker. At this moment, he actually wanted to retreat as the battle intent around him slowly dissipated. Ling Xiao was too terrifying. Heavenly venerate Withered Glory, the heavenly venerate of the Heavenly Curse sect, and the heavenly venerate of the Nirvana Temple had all died in Ling Xiao's hands. How long had it been? Everyone in the Samsara Temple was dumbfounded by the scene before them. The heavenly venerate of the Heavenly Curse sect and the heavenly venerate of the Nirvana Temple are also dead. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock as they trembled all over. Ling Xiao's strength was beyond their imagination. The 2 saints from the Heavenly Curse sect and the Nirvana Shrine were scared out of their wits. They were no longer as arrogant as before. Their faces were pale as they hid in the Samsara Heavenly Palace, afraid that Ling Xiao would notice them. Damn it! He actually killed 3 celestial venerables? How could he be so strong? Could it be because he is the chosen one? Qin Miesheng was also extremely shocked. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Ling Xiao, I will definitely kill you. When father makes his move, it will be the time of your death. So what if he was the chosen one? After my father kills you, I will fuse with your heavenly Tao providence and become the chosen one of the human race. At that time, Shui Wei will still be my woman. This bitch, I will definitely let her know my power. Qin Miesheng's face was distorted. Flames of jealousy were surging in his eyes. He was trembling all over. Seeing Ling Xiao's terrifying strength, he couldn't help but feel fear in his heart. However, when he thought of his father and the omnipotent Samsara Master, he calmed down a little. He even began to covet the heavenly fate on Ling Xiao. Junior Martial Uncle has also broken through to the heavenly venerable realm? Such terrifying battle prowess as expected of the chosen one. Lu Bai's eyes were also filled with amazement. Ling Xiao had forced the heavenly venerable ancestor of the 9 imperial obelisk to retreat with one punch. The heavenly venerable ancestor of the 9 imperial obelisk had an ugly expression. He was actually suppressed by Lu Bai. Being suppressed by such a junior made him both shocked and angry. At the same time, Ling Xiao had killed 3 celestial venerables in a row, which set off a storm in his heart. He could vaguely feel that the Chosen One's power had been established. Perhaps even the various immortal sacred grounds could no longer keep him in check. If you have the ability, kill all 6 celestial venerables. When the sect master arrives, it will be the time of your death. Although heavenly venerable Yufeng was also extremely shocked, he was also filled with confidence in the Samsara master. After all, the 6 celestial venerables were the ancestors of the other immortal sacred grounds. If they died at Ling Xiao's hands, it would only make the 6 immortal sacred grounds hate Ling Xiao even more. Young master is always the most powerful. I can't be a burden to him. Xue Wei also noticed the scene of Ling Xiao killing 3 celestial venerables in a row. Her eyes were filled with admiration. Swoosh! Blazing sword chi surged around her body, containing the power of reincarnation, life, and death. It made her become extremely fierce. The black ancient sword in her hand released unparalleled divine power, surging like a vast ocean. Her combat strength skyrocketed in an instant, causing heavenly venerable Yufeng's expression to change. His expression became somewhat solemn. He actually felt a fatal threat from Xue Wei's body. Heavenly venerable Yufeng did not dare to be careless. Boundless light surged around him as circles of reincarnation light bloomed. He began to attack Xue Wei with all his might. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with killing intent as he pounced on the remaining 4 celestial venerables. When the epic fist was released, endless chaotic light surged. It was as though heaven and earth had returned to chaos, evolving a new world, a new epic, and a new civilization in the chaos. The epic fist was the fist of destruction, the fist of creation, and the fist of civilization. The 4 celestial venerables were instantly enveloped by the fist intent of the epical fist. It was as if they were in the chaos, and they were surrounded by surging killing intent. Fist imprints came crashing down on them from all directions. Heavenly capital fiend slash. Great 5 elements coalescing sword chi. Void slashing heavenly way. Myriad life light dark palm. The 4 celestial venerable ancestors of the Chinese, 5 elements celestial sect, space-time heavenly sect, and darkness heavenly sect were filled with madness. They roared angrily and unleashed their strongest treasure skills in an attempt to break Ling Xiao's epic fist. They could feel Ling Xiao's determination to kill them, which made them extremely terrified. Ling Xiao wanted to keep them here so that he could complete the magnificent feat of killing 7 celestial venerables in one fell swoop. At this moment, they no longer wanted to kill Ling Xiao. They only wanted to break out of the range of the epic fist as soon as possible and leave the Samsara temple. It was too terrifying. They were celestial venerables, the most powerful experts in the divine world. They stood at the pinnacle of the divine path and were about to reach the emperor realm. However, Ling Xiao had killed 3 of them consecutively as though they were vegetables. Ling Xiao's strength was enough to make them tremble in fear. Rumble. The epic fist seemed to have opened up a terrifying chaotic world as it collided with the 4 celestial venerables. Divine light flashed in all directions and the void trembled violently. Scenes of great destruction appeared and the final epic was opened. The 4 celestial venerable ancestors trembled violently and were sent flying. The 4th one. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with killing intent as he disappeared into the void. In the next moment, he appeared behind celestial venerable radiant peak and punched out with an invincible force. Kacha! Celestial venerable radiant peak was unable to withstand Ling Xiao's punch. His body trembled violently as he felt a great destructive force enter his body. His eyes were filled with disbelief as he exploded in the void. Boom! Sky-devouring fire spread out from Ling Xiao's palm and enveloped Celestial Venerable Radiant Peak's primordial spirit before it could escape. Celestial Venerable Radiant Peak was dead. Third Sect Master. Chapter 2806. Run! The eyes of the three celestial masters from the Pentaphase Celestial Sect, the Space-Time Heavenly Gate, and the Darkness Celestial Sect were filled with deep fear. They could not help but roar and flee in all directions. They were completely scared out of their wits by Ling Xiao. Holy Master Radiant Peak was so powerful that even after using the Heavenly Capital Divine Fiend Slash, he was still killed by Ling Xiao's punch. The four Holy Masters attacked together, but they could not do anything to Ling Xiao. In the blink of an eye, 4 of the 7 Holy Masters had died at Ling Xiao's hands. The 3 of them lost their will to fight and fear filled their eyes. If they continued to fight, they would be at risk of dying. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 3 Celestial Masters leaped into the void in an attempt to escape from the Samsara Temple. You want to leave? You'd better stay here. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He punched at the Holy Master of the 5 Elements Celestial Sect. Purple lightning surrounded his fist, and it was extremely domineering. At the same time, dazzling light rose from his palm. The heavenly might was like a prison steel that spun across the sky. It was like an immemorial divine mountain that suppressed the remaining 2 celestial venerables. Ling Xiao did not intend to let any of them go. He was determined to make them all stay. The purple fist could be called the primordial fist. It was the ultimate fist technique that Ling Xiao had unleashed after his primordial immortal body was perfected. Ling Xiao had combined the ancestral dragon, true phoenix, white tiger, black tortoise, and Qilin origin secret skills. He had also studied many body refining techniques. With the primordial immortal body as the foundation, he had created the primordial fist. Although the primordial fist was not perfected, it was already able to unleash destructive power. Ling Xiao, get out of my way. The face of the celestial venerable, one of the 5 elements, celestial sect, turned ghastly pale. His eyes were filled with rage as he roared furiously. His entire body was enveloped in blood-red light as flames rose. He burned the great path nomological laws and the power of his primordial spirit as he unleashed a terrifying attack towards Ling Xiao. He could feel the terror of the primordial fist. If he could not withstand Ling Xiao's blow, he would definitely die. Boom! Dazzling divine rainbows collided in the void. The primordial chaos fist contained eternal and immortal energy waves and emitted dazzling rays of light. It was as if a greater thousand world had been created and enveloped the celestial venerable ancestor of the 5 Elements Celestial Sect. The heavenly venerate of the 5 Elements Celestial Sect's most powerful attack had actually been destroyed without a sound. Rumble! Endless fist imprints surrounded the heavenly venerate patriarch of the 5 Elements Celestial Sect like billions of stars. The heavenly venerate of the 5 Elements Celestial Sect trembled violently. Despair filled his eyes as he exploded into a bloody mist. He had been blasted apart by Ling Xiao's punch. Primordial spirits of his primordial spirit. Primordial spirits was that primordial spirit was pure primordial spirit and primordial spirit primordial immortal primordial spirit. The 5th Empyrean was dead. Boom. On the other side, the 2 heavenly venerate experts from the Space-Time Heavenly Gate and the Illuminati Heavenly Sect were suppressed by the Heaven's Might Prison Steel. They had to use all their cultivation to lift the Heaven's Might Prison Steel and escape. However, they did not expect the Holy Master of the 5 Elements Celestial Sect to die at Ling Xiao's hands. Both of them were scared out of their wits. They frantically tried to escape from the Samsara Temple. Celestial Emperor Prison Suppression Technique, suppress. Ling Xiao said coldly. Suddenly, the heavens might emitted a dazzling light. It was as if a passage to hell had been opened. A dark and deathly aura emanated from it. Above the sky, it was as if hell had descended upon this world. Endless darkness and the divine light of death surged. Vaguely, an immortal great emperor appeared, blotting out the sky and suppressing all evil. Quick! The 2 holy masters' eyes were filled with madness. They even burned their blood essence and used the blood escape technique. They traveled thousands of miles in an instant. The Samsara temple had been enveloped by the myriad samsara ray. The void was sealed, so they could not tear the void apart. They could only escape by flying. The two of them were about to go crazy. They did not care about anything else. They only wanted to escape from Ling Xiao's clutches as soon as possible. They did not dare to make an enemy of Ling Xiao anymore. It was too terrifying. This heaven's chosen son actually used 200 years to possess invincible battle prowess that could crush Empyreans. Could Ling Xiao really become the 10th emperor of the human race? Deep regret welled up in their hearts. They regretted making Ling Xiao their enemy. This battle had established Ling Xiao's reputation as an invincible being. After today, Ling Xiao would be the most dazzling existence in the entire God realm. He would make all the worlds tremble. Buzz. Just as the two celestial masters were about to make it out of the Samsara temple, the void in front of them shone brightly. Runes intertwined and formed a transparent bounded domain. It exuded a mysterious samsara aura and blocked their way. In fact, there were even streaks of extremely sharp sword chi that were formed and locked onto them. What? The faces of the two celestial venerables instantly turned pale. They only remembered that the Samsara temple had been enveloped by the myriad samsara ray. Not only had it sealed off Ling Xiao's escape, but it had also sealed off their escape routes. In other words, they were trapped in the Supreme Emperor Ray. There was no way they could escape. Old fogies of the Samsara temple, I'll fuck you. The two heavenly sovereigns from the space-time heavenly gate and the Glabrest heavenly sect cursed in anger. Despair appeared in their eyes. Rumble. At this moment, Ling Xiao descended with heavenly might. The Celestial Emperor's prison suppression art contained the power to shatter and seal everything. It was as if an ancient emperor had descended. The terrifying power of darkness and death enveloped the two celestial lords. Ling Xiao's face was cold. Killing intent surged around him. The Heavenly Emperor's prison suppression art formed a strange resonance with him. The Extreme Emperor's aura seemed to have been completely activated. The terrifying Extreme Emperor's aura surged and tore the two holy masters into pieces. At this point, the last two heavenly venerables had also died at Ling Xiao's hands. Ling Xiao stood in the air, his black hair fluttering in the wind. His white robe was whiter than snow, and he held the heaven's might in his hand. Extreme Emperor's might spread out from his body, and chaotic light rose, making his aura sharp and majestic, exuding an invincible aura. The entire Samsara temple was silent. Everyone was completely stunned. Their eyes were dazed and fearful. It was as if they were in a dream. The void was filled with the stench of blood. Blood rained down from the sky and various mysterious visions appeared. These were telling everyone that the scene in front of them was not a dream. It was real. Ling Xiao had killed 7 holy masters. P.S. Something cropped up last night, so I missed the first update. I'll make up for it today. There will be 3 more updates tonight. Chapter 2807. Ling Xiao killed 7 heavenly venerables. That's terrifying. Is this the chosen one? I have a feeling that the immortal sacred grounds that have a grudge with Ling Xiao are in trouble. With Ling Xiao's current combat strength, he's invincible unless an emperor appears. Everyone was discussing softly as they looked at Ling Xiao with reverence in their eyes. The result was simply too shocking. Heavenly venerables were known as heavenly venerables. They were at the peak of the saint path and were the strongest below the emperor realm. They controlled the great Tao of heaven and earth and could unleash destructive power with a wave of their hand. Now, Ling Xiao had killed 7 of them as if he was cutting vegetables. Oh my god, Ling Xiao is actually so perverted? Doesn't this mean that my revenge will be even further away from me in the future? This fellow wouldn't have broken through to the Imperial Lord realm, right? The white dragon horse widened its eyes, revealing a look of shock and suspicion. Ling Xiao had displayed his peerless strength and killed 7 heavenly venerables in a row. Even he did not expect it and felt that it was unbelievable. Those heavenly venerables of the immortal sacred grounds were almost at the level of old ancestors. They were supreme experts who controlled the fate of the immortal sacred grounds. Losing any one of them was a great loss. Every one of them was unfathomable and had cultivated powerful emperor techniques. Even so, they still died in Ling Xiao's hands. After today, Ling Xiao will shock the entire divine world, Pangu Tiangang said with excitement. When he saw Ling Xiao killing 7 heavenly venerables in the void, he could feel his fighting spirit rising and his blood boiling. He could not help but want to fight alongside Ling Xiao. This was Ling Xiao, the young god of war of the War God Temple. He did not disappoint everyone. After this battle, who dares to say that they will destroy the War God Temple? Lu Bai's eyes flashed with unparalleled sharpness as he revealed a rare look of excitement. His battle intent soared as he threw out a punch. It was as bright as the sun, forcing the 9 imperial obelisk heavenly venerate to retreat. It killed 7 heavenly venerables. The Empyrean Exalt's eyes were filled with panic and disbelief. There was no longer a trace of arrogance in them. Ling Xiao slaughtering 7 great Empyrean powerhouses made him tremble with fear, feeling that things were not good. If this continued, wouldn't he also fall here? However, he was already at a disadvantage and was suppressed by Lu Bai. Now that he was slightly distracted, Lu Bai immediately seized the opportunity. Rumble! Lu Bai's body emitted an immeasurable amount of light, and a vast fighting spirit soared into the sky. His aura suddenly increased by several times, and his white robe was peerless, illuminating the entire sky. A blazing beam of light shot out from his palm. It contained the power to pierce through everything as it shot toward the celestial venerate in the imperial obelisk. Mahakasyapa Infinity War God Art. Lu Bai said in a low voice. His eyes shone brightly. The Empyrean from the 9 imperial obelisk trembled. He didn't even have the chance to dodge. The beam of light instantly pierced through his body. Rumble! His body seemed to have completely turned into a source of light and began to spurt out endless light. His eyes were filled with intense fear. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Then, his entire body exploded with a loud bang. The Empyrean from the 9 imperial obelisk turned into a dazzling rain of light, sprinkling down from the void. It looked dazzling, intertwined with mysterious great Tao laws. The Empyrean from the 9 imperial obelisk had died at the hands of Lu Bai. Everyone had yet to recover from the shock of seeing Ling Xiao. They didn't expect that the 8th Empyrean would also die. Now, only Empyrean Yufeng was left in the void. The saints and saintesses from the Chinese, Pentafei's celestial sect, Spacetime Heavenly Gate, and other immortal sacred grounds were scared silly. Their faces were pale, and their eyes were filled with fear. The 8 Empyreans who possessed the strongest battle strength were all dead now. Ling Xiao had actually created a miracle with his own strength. Under Ling Xiao's peerless radiance, these so-called heaven's prides and kings were incomparably overshadowed. Damn it! Empyrean Yufeng's face was incomparably ugly, and his eyes were filled with biting cold killing intent. He realized that Ling Xiao's gaze had also landed on him. That gaze was flickering, containing a trace of cold killing intent. Rumble! Empyrean Yufeng's body suddenly erupted with unparalleled saint aura. A huge palm print swept across the sky, smashing the sword chi that filled the sky into fine powder. Then, after colliding with Xue Wei, he was directly sent flying back, landing on the reincarnation heavenly palace. Ling Xiao, you're dead meat. You actually dared to kill the Empyrean experts from the immortal sacred grounds? You're indeed a spy of the demon race. There will be no place for you in the entire divine realm. You're the mortal enemy of the human race. Empyrean Yufeng stared at Ling Xiao and said coldly, his eyes filled with blazing killing intent. Qin Miesheng stood beside Empyrean Yufeng. His face was incomparably ugly, and his eyes were filled with jealousy and anger. Why was Ling Xiao the chosen one? Why didn't Ling Xiao die 200 years ago? Why did he return 200 years later and possess the combat strength to kill Empyreans? Why did Xue Wei's heart belong to Ling Xiao? Why was she not even willing to look at him? Qin Miesheng's heart was filled with hatred for Ling Xiao. The jealousy and anger twisted his heart, and he could not wait to cut Ling Xiao into pieces. Ling Xiao, you killed my Samsara temple's Empyrean withered glory and stole my wife. Today is the day you die. I'd like to see if you can escape from the myriad Samsara formation alive. Qin Miesheng's eyes were filled with hatred. Rumble. As the ancient seal in Qin Miesheng's palm emitted a strange light, the myriad Samsara formation became even more dangerous. A terrifying aura surged, and the extreme emperor's aura intertwined like divine chains of order. It contained a terrifying killing intent, and it locked Ling Xiao, Xue Wei, Lu Bai, the White Dragon Horse, and the Pangu Celestial Constellation. This was the Supreme Emperor Array of the Samsara Temple, the Myriad Samsara Formation. The Myriad Samsara Formation was a perfect Emperor Array, and it contained a terrifying Extreme Emperor's aura. Once it was fully activated, it could even kill an Imperial Emperor. This was where Empyrean Yufeng and Qin Miesheng's confidence came from. At the same time, Qin Miesheng had sent a message to his father, the Supreme Samsara Master of the Samsara Temple. As long as the Samsara Master attacked, Ling Xiao would definitely die, no matter how powerful he was. This is why I don't like you. If you want to kill me, just say so. Why do you have to pretend to be righteous and frame me as a spy of the demon tribe? How nauseating. However, do you really think that you can stop me with just an Emperor Ray? Ling Xiao sneered, and his eyes were full of disdain. Bookmark for easy reading. Chapter 2808. Rumble. Ling Xiao's body was surrounded by purple gas and emitted an immortal fluctuation. He could feel the terror of the myriad tribulations reincarnation array. The murderous intent was so strong that it could tear him into pieces at any time. However, Ling Xiao did not care. Even if he could not fight against the myriad tribulations reincarnation array, he had cultivated the secret skill of reincarnation and had the prison tablet. It would not be difficult for him to break out of the myriad tribulations reincarnation array. Ling Xiao had decided that he would kill Heavenly Master Yufeng and Qin Miesheng after he broke out of the array. Young Master, I can break out of the myriad tribulations reincarnation array. However, Young Master, can Xue Wei beg you to spare the rest of the Samsara Temple and only kill Qin Miesheng and Heavenly Master Yufeng? After all, Xue Wei is indebted to the Samsara Temple, and I do not wish for the Samsara Temple to be destroyed. Xue Wei suddenly said to Ling Xiao with a pleading look in her eyes. Xue Wei had originally wanted Ling Xiao to let Qin Miesheng and Heavenly Venerable Yufeng off. After all, the Samsara Master had helped Ling Xiao 200 years ago. However, their words had completely disappointed Xue Wei. Moreover, Xue Wei knew that the Samsara Master had not helped her out of sincerity. He was after the Samsara origin in Xue Wei's body. He wanted Xue Wei to be Qin Miesheng's cauldron and help him break through to the Heavenly Master realm or even higher. All right, I will listen to you. Ling Xiao patted Xue Wei's head affectionately and nodded. However, Qin Miesheng's eyes were about to spit fire when he saw this. You are courting death. Today I will kill all of you. Qin Miesheng said coldly. Rumble. The myriad tribulations reincarnation array was completely activated. Rings of mysterious reincarnation light bloomed. Chaotic mist and mysterious great Tao laws intertwined and transformed into the most terrifying murderous intent. It locked onto Ling Xiao and the rest. This was the power of the Extreme Emperor Aura, which contained the great Tao origin energy. Even an Empyrean powerhouse would not have any ability to resist in front of this source power and would be reduced to ashes in an instant. Young Master, protect me while I cultivate. Everyone follow me. I will bring you out of the myriad tribulations reincarnation formation. Xue Wei's eyes revealed a trace of strange light as she slowly said. A mysterious light of reincarnation shone from Xue Wei's body, causing the surrounding space to tremble slightly. It was translucent and dazzling. It enveloped Xue Wei, making her seem invulnerable and otherworldly. Mysterious phantoms appeared around Xue Wei. They looked very similar to Xue Wei, but their auras were completely different. They were like imprints from the endless worlds of reincarnation. They were densely packed and intertwined with each other, forming an extremely strange energy. The origin power of the great Tao of reincarnation. The area around Xuewei seemed to have turned into a fairyland, peaceful and ethereal, protecting Ling Xiao, Lu Bai, the white dragon horse, and the Panga heavenly constellation. Rumble. After the myriad tribulations reincarnation formation was activated by Qin Yeshing, it instantly released a terrifying attack. Sword radiance and saber radiance rose, spear radiance and axe radiance swept across the void. All kinds of terrifying attacks, which contained the origin power of the great Tao, fell on Ling Xiao, Xuewei, and the others. That terrifying fluctuation caused the scalps of the surrounding people to turn numb. Their eyes were filled with incomparable fear. This kind of power could easily kill a king sage. Was this the power of the Supreme Emperor Array? However, everyone was incomparably shocked to discover that when that terrifying attack came into contact with the area 10 feet around Xuewei, it actually silently melted like snow. Xuewei shone with the mysterious light of reincarnation, protecting Ling Xiao and the others. The origin of the great Tao of reincarnation? The myriad worlds reincarnation? She really completed the myriad worlds reincarnation in the past 200 years? How is this possible? Damn it. Qin Miesheng's body shook, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. 200 years ago, Xuewei entered the forbidden land of the Samsara Temple. The forbidden land was extremely terrifying, and it was known as the myriad worlds reincarnation formation. Once one entered it, he would be reincarnated into the myriad worlds, and only a trace of his true spirit would remain. It was said that as long as one passed through the myriad worlds reincarnation formation, he would be able to comprehend the origin of the great Tao of reincarnation. However, Qin Miesheng knew better than anyone else how terrifying the myriad worlds reincarnation formation was. The reincarnation contained great terror and danger, and many geniuses of the Samsara Temple had fallen in it. Even Qin Miesheng could not bear it after going through the myriad worlds reincarnation formation. For hundreds of millions of years in the Samsara Temple, it was said that there were very few people who could pass through the myriad worlds reincarnation formation. Those who could pass through the myriad worlds reincarnation formation eventually became the most powerful of the Samsara Temple and left behind a rich and colorful legacy. Qin Miesheng did not expect Xuewei to pass through the myriad worlds reincarnation formation. The origin of the great Tao of reincarnation formation that erupted from Xuewei's body was very clear. This meant that as long as Xuewei completely integrated with the origin of the great Tao of reincarnation formation, she would be able to break through to the Imperial Emperor realm soon. This was a step to the top. It was precisely because Xuewei had the origin of the great Tao of reincarnation that she was immune to the attacks of the myriad worlds reincarnation formation. Rumble. The sky was filled with dazzling divine light. Xuewei and Ling Xiao stood side by side, their fingers clasped together as they walked forward step by step. Terrifying killing intent surged around them, but it could not do anything to them. The myriad worlds reincarnation formation was said to be able to kill everything, but it was easily neutralized by Xuewei. In just a few breaths' time, Xuewei had penetrated the boundary of the myriad worlds reincarnation formation and walked out with Ling Xiao and the others. They appeared above the Samsara Heavenly Palace and stood in front of Qin Miesheng and Heavenly Master Yufeng. If you want to activate the myriad worlds reincarnation formation, the token alone is not enough. You must comprehend the origin of the great Tao of reincarnation. It's a pity that neither you nor the Samsara Master have comprehended the origin of the great Tao of reincarnation formation. Xuewei said flatly with a calm expression. Qin Miesheng and Heavenly Master Yufeng's faces were extremely gloomy, especially Qin Miesheng. His eyes were filled with resentment. Xuewei, are you really going to betray the Samsara Temple? If you break off with Ling Xiao now, you will still be my wife and the saintess of the Samsara Temple. Otherwise, when my father comes out of seclusion, no one will be able to save you. Qin Miesheng stared at Xuewei and said coldly, Qin Miesheng, you should know that the only person I love is my young master. I will never betray the Samsara Temple. Xuewei said calmly. Her face was slightly red, but her slender fingers held Ling Zhao's hand tightly, as if this was the only way she could draw hope and strength. Bookmark for easy reading. Chapter 2809. Ling Zhao's face was full of smiles and his eyes were as gentle as water. He looked at Shui Wei and smiled. There was no need for words. Shui Wei, you forced me to do this. Since you chose to be with Ling Xiao, you can all go to hell. Father, please come out of seclusion and kill them. Qin Miesheng said with fire in his eyes. He then bowed respectfully to the heavenly palace of Samsara with fanatical worship in his eyes. Master of Samsara, please come out of seclusion and kill Ling Xiao. Celestial Master Yufeng also bowed to the heavenly palace of Samsara. The Master of Samsara was their greatest support. Both Qin Miesheng and Celestial Master Yufeng believed that Ling Xiao would definitely die if the Master of Samsara came out of seclusion. The Master of Samsara has come out of seclusion? Could it be that he has broken through to the Imperial Emperor realm? Someone whispered, his eyes filled with shock. Everyone looked at the heavenly palace of Samsara and waited for a response. If the Master of Samsara had really broken through to the Imperial Emperor realm, it would be difficult for Ling Xiao and Shui Wei to leave the heavenly palace of Samsara. The Master of Samsara? Is he finally willing to come out? Such a secretive person, how disappointing. Ling Zhao's eyes were dazzling as they fell on the heavenly palace of Samsara. As soon as Qin Miesheng finished speaking, Ling Xiao felt an unfathomable aura as vast as the sea in the heavenly palace of Samsara. The Master of Samsara might have really taken that step. However, to everyone's surprise, there was no response from the heavenly palace of Samsara. There was dead silence. A strange look appeared in everyone's eyes. The Master of Samsara hadn't shown up? Could it be that the Master of Samsara was also afraid of Ling Xiao? Qin Miesheng and Heavenly Venerable Yu Feng looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with disbelief as they began to panic. This was different from what they had imagined. Moreover, Qin Miesheng had a bad premonition. He found that the connection between him and his father had been severed, as if it had been cut off by something. Why hadn't the Master of Samsara come out? Looks like it's really disappointing. The Master of Samsara didn't even have the courage to show up. If that's the case, then there's no need for the two of you to continue living. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Then, a cold glint flashed in his eyes as he sent a palm down from the sky. Rumble! Endless purple lightning gushed out from his palm. His aura was terrifying to the extreme, containing the power of great destruction. It was like a purple world, instantly enveloping Heavenly Venerable Yufeng and Qin Miesheng. Ling Xiao, how dare you? Ling Xiao, if you dare to touch me, my father will make you beg for death. Empyrean Imperial Wind and Qin Miesheng's faces changed drastically, roaring angrily one after another. The two of them leaped into the air, intending to charge into the heavenly palace of Samsara. Boom! Ling Zhao's eyes were cold as an unparalleled fist print came crashing down. The Hongmeng fist contained the ultimate physical strength, which could break through illusions and suppress everything. Empyrean Imperial Wind and Qin Miesheng's bodies shook violently. They couldn't resist Ling Zhao's Hongmeng fist at all. Blood spurted out of their mouths as they were sent flying, crashing heavily on the door of the heavenly palace of Samsara. Don't worry after you're dead. I'll send the Master of Samsara to meet you. Ling Xiao said coldly as he sent another punch down. Crack! Blazing purple clouds rose, and chaotic light appeared in the sky. A mysterious scene, as if the world had been created, appeared, making Ling Zhao's fist print even more domineering and ferocious. Empyrean Imperial Wind and Qin Miesheng, one coveted his heavenly fate, while the other coveted Shui Wei's reincarnation origin. Both of them deserved to die. Moreover, Ling Xiao learned from the Taishangdao Palace that the Samsara Temple was secretly plotting against the Taishangdao Palace and the War God Hall, even though they appeared to be neutral on the surface. A few supreme elders of the War God Hall had died at the hands of Empyrean Imperial Wind, while a few female disciples of the Taishangdao Palace had been raped to death by Qin Miesheng. However, Ling Zhao's actions were secretive, and the war god Hall couldn't find any evidence, so they could only swallow their pride. Rumble. This punch contained the supreme divine power of the Hong Meng immortal body. It pierced through the chests of Empyrean Imperial Wind and Qin Mieshing, leaving behind a rain of blood in the void. The power of the Great Destruction surged into the bodies of Empyrean Imperial Wind and Qin Mieshing, instantly destroying their tree of holy way and destroying more than half of their primordial spirits. You crippled me? Ling Xiao, I'll fight you to the death. Qin Mieshing roared crazily, his eyes filled with hatred and despair. Ling Xiao's punch could have killed Empyrean Imperial Wind and Qin Mieshing, but he didn't. Instead, he destroyed their holy way foundation and crippled their cultivation. Qin Mieshing and Empyrean Imperial Wind's aura became extremely weak in an instant, and their cultivation dropped from the Saint King realm to the Divine Spirit realm. His cultivation base had been reduced to ashes. Empyrean Imperial Wind's face was ashen, and his eyes were filled with fear and despair. He felt that as his life origin flowed away, he became extremely old. He was lethargic and filled with the aura of death, as if his life was running out and he was about to die. I didn't expect this. The great Samsara Master has become a coward and is unwilling to come out even now? Fine, I won't kill Qin Mieshing and Empyrean Imperial Wind, and I won't hurt anyone from the Samsara Temple. This is my repayment for your help 200 years ago. As long as the Samsara Temple doesn't provoke me anymore, we'll be even. Ling Xiao didn't even look at Qin Mieshing and Empyrean Imperial Wind. His gaze fell on the heavenly palace, and he looked a little disappointed. Originally, Ling Xiao wanted to force the Samsara Master to come out, and use this opportunity to get rid of the Samsara Master once and for all. But for some unknown reason, the Master of Samsara did not show up. Ling Xiao lost interest and decided to spare Qin Mieshing and Empyrean Imperial Wind's lives in the end. This was his repayment for the Samsara Master's help 200 years ago. Moreover, Qin Mieshing and Empyrean Imperial Wind were already crippled, and they were no longer a threat to Ling Xiao. Xuewei, let's go. Ling Xiao said slowly to Xuewei. But Xuewei nodded and turned back to look at the Samsara Temple. Her eyes were filled with reluctance to part with it. But in the end, she still grabbed Ling Xiao's hand and left the Samsara Temple with him. How boring. I wanted to watch an exciting battle and let Ling Xiao kill the Samsara Master. I didn't expect it to end like this. It's so lonely to be invincible. White Dragon Horse chuckled. The Samsara Master? He must be tied down by something and can't split himself. No matter what, it's a good thing to be able to leave the Samsara Temple unscathed. Let's go. Lu Bai looked at the heavenly palace with a strange light in his eyes and said slowly, if the Samsara Master sees Qin Mieshing and Empyrean Imperial Wind like this, I'm afraid he'll go crazy? Pangu Tiangang said with a strange look in his eyes. Ling Xiao and the rest swaggered out of the Samsara Temple, and no one dared to stop them. Behind them, only Qin Mieshing and Empyrean Imperial Wind's cries could be heard. Everyone's eyes were filled with respect as they watched Ling Xiao leave the Samsara Temple. At this moment, in the heavenly palace of the Samsara Temple, chaotic fog filled the air. Old bastard, why did you stop me? I must kill Ling Xiao and destroy the War God Temple. You can't stop me. This is the shame of the Samsara Temple, and only their blood and lives can wash away this shame. An icy cold voice filled with rage exploded in the chaotic space. It was like thunder, filled with monstrous killing intent. P.S. End of 4th update. Everyone, rest early. 3rd Sect Leader. Chapter 2811. Rumble. The blazing light was dazzling. The origin of the great Tao was like a divine chain of order. It intertwined into a dazzling net and trapped a middle-aged man in a black robe. In the chaotic void, an old man with white hair and beard sat cross-legged. He had a youthful face and white hair. His face was hale and hearty. Rings of reincarnation light flickered in his eyes, revealing the vicissitudes of life and wisdom. The middle-aged man in a black robe was the ruler of the Samsara Temple, the master of Samsara, Qin Wuji. Qin Wuji had seen everything that had happened in the Samsara Temple. However, he could only watch as Ling Xiao killed Withered Glory Heavenly Master and crippled Qin Mieshing and Heavenly Master Yufeng because he was trapped in the Heavenly Palace by the Samsara Ancestor. The Samsara Ancestor was the strongest person in the Samsara Temple. When Qin Wuji was still a child, the Samsara Ancestor was already the Samsara Ancestor. No one knew how old the Samsara Ancestor was. Some even guessed that he was a living fossil from the 9 emperors of the human tribe. Qin Wuji had always been wary of the Samsara Ancestor. It was only when he took the last step and broke through to the Imperial Emperor realm that he stopped being afraid of the Samsara Ancestor. Shui Wei was the disciple of the Samsara Ancestor. Therefore, Shui Wei had always had a superior position in the Samsara Temple. In the past 200 years, the Samsara Ancestor had been traveling the heavens and realms. Therefore, Qin Wuji dared to force Shui Wei to marry Qin Mieshing. He knew that even if the Samsara Ancestor returned, he would not be afraid of the Samsara Ancestor. However, it seemed that he had underestimated the Samsara Ancestor's strength. The Samsara Ancestor had silently appeared in the Heavenly Palace and imprisoned Qin Wuji. He could only watch the outside world but could not interfere. Qin Wuji's eyes were filled with incomparable anger. His murderous intent towards Ling Xiao had also reached its peak. Qin Wuji, you saw it too. I did not make a move to help Ling Xiao, but Ling Xiao still performed the magnificent feat of slaughtering 8 great Empyreans in a row. After this battle, his name would probably resound throughout the entire God realm. This is the Chosen One, the son of fate of an era. If you go against him, you will die and the Samsara Temple will be doomed eternally. Reincarnation Ancestor said indifferently with a calm look on his face. Famous throughout the God realm? Ancestor, in my opinion, Ling Xiao will die for sure after this battle. He has offended the Chinese, the 9 Imperial Obelisk, the Time Heavenly Gate, and the other immortal Holy Lands. Do you think these immortal Holy Lands will let him go? Ling Xiao is already the enemy of the entire world. Whether he is the Chosen One or not, he will definitely die. Qin Wuji sneered and said, Qin Wuji, do you really think these immortal sacred grounds can kill Ling Xiao? Samsara Patriarch asked calmly. Why not? Old thing, you should know better than me that those below the Emperor realm are all ants. Even heavenly venerables are ants. If those 8 Empyreans were standing in front of me, I could also slap them to death. If all the immortal sacred grounds attack at the same time, it won't just be 8 Empyreans, but 8 emperors. What will he use to defend himself? Qin Wuji said coldly. If that's the case, are you sure you want to go against Ling Xiao? Samsara Patriarch sighed softly. That's right. How dare he make a scene at the Samsara Temple on Shui Wei and Miesheng's wedding day? How dare he humiliate us? He even killed Empyrean Withered Glory and crippled Empyrean Yufeng and Qin Mieshing. If we don't take revenge, the Samsara Temple will become the laughingstock of the entire God realm. Qin Wuji's eyes were filled with rage and murderous intent. He was determined to kill Ling Xiao. Have you thought about it? What would it mean if Ling Xiao managed to survive after being surrounded by all of you again? Samsara Patriarch said slowly. Qin Wuji's entire body trembled. However, he still revealed a determined expression and said, Impossible. Not to mention that he's only at the Empyrean realm. Even if he broke through to the Imperial Monarch realm, he would still die under the joint attack of so many immortal Holy Lands. Qin Wuji, let me answer for you. If Ling Xiao doesn't die, you and the Samsara Temple won't be able to bear the consequences. If that happens, the entire God realm will be in a bloodbath, and those so-called immortal sacred grounds will be wiped out. Samsara Patriarch said slowly. Impossible. So what if he's the Chosen One? He's offended so many immortal sacred grounds, he won't survive this time. Qin Wuji's face was filled with determination. Qin Wuji, I can stop you for a while, but I can't stop you for life. How about this? I won't stop you from killing Ling Xiao, but you can't take anyone from the Samsara Temple with you. You can only go alone. The Great Tribulation is coming, and the Samsara Temple can't take it anymore. Samsara Patriarch said helplessly. Alright, old man, I promise I won't take anyone from the Samsara temple with me. I'll show you that you're wrong. I'm the only one who can lead the Samsara temple to greatness and glory. Qin Miesheng agreed without hesitation. His eyes were filled with dazzling light. In that case, you're on your own, Samsara Patriarch said and nodded. He waved his sleeve, and the divine chains of order that imprisoned Qin Miesheng disappeared. Qin Miesheng looked at Samsara Patriarch and left the heavenly palace without saying a word. Qin Wuji, do you really think I don't know that you're after Ling Zhao's heaven path fate? But don't you understand? If the Chosen One is so easy to kill, would he still be the Chosen One? Samsara Patriarch looked in the direction where Qin Miesheng disappeared and muttered to himself. Buzz. The resplendent light of Samsara rose around him. Mist permeated the air as he silently vanished from the chaotic space. Ling Zhao left the Samsara temple with Xue Wei. The entire Samsara temple was as silent as cicadas in winter. No one dared to stop Ling Zhao. Everyone looked at Ling Zhao with awe and respect. Even the sage kings and the old monsters who had lived for countless years couldn't help but gasp in amazement. The news that Ling Zhao had wreaked havoc in the Samsara temple, snatched fairy Xue Wei, killed 8 holy masters, and crippled Qin Miesheng and Holy Master Yufeng quickly spread throughout the divine world. It was as if the news of that battle had grown wings. In a very short period of time, it had spread throughout the entire god realm, causing everyone to boil with excitement and shock. Especially when many people heard the news for the first time, they didn't believe it and thought that someone was deliberately spreading the rumor. However, as more and more detailed information came out, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Ling Zhao had really killed 8 holy masters. The divine world was in an uproar. Chapter 28:12. What? The taboo character from 200 years ago, the legendary Heaven's Chosen One, Ling Zhao, is back. He had slaughtered 8 holy masters in a single battle in the Samsara temple? I'm not dreaming, am I? 200 years ago, he had just attained the Tao and became a sage. Now, he can kill holy masters as easily as killing dogs? That's terrifying. All these years, everyone thought that Ling Zhao was dead. Even those who thought that he was still alive thought that even if he returned to the realm of the gods, it was no longer his era. In the past 200 years, the realm of the gods had produced many geniuses and kings. Everyone thought that they were more outstanding than Ling Zhao, but now it seems that everyone was wrong. Ling Zhao has returned and established his reputation as an invincible figure. Those immortal sanctuaries who had offended him will not be able to eat or sleep well, right? That's hard to say. Ling Zhao killed 8 holy masters. Will those immortal sanctuaries and emperor clans let him off so easily? Who knows, Ling Zhao might become the enemy of the entire world. 200 years ago, although those immortal sanctuaries tried to kill Ling Zhao, they did not use their full strength. Now that Ling Zhao has offended them, I'm afraid that they will find a way to kill Ling Zhao even if they use all their resources. What a pity! I did not have the chance to witness that battle. I wonder how Lord Ling Zhao was in the Samsara temple? Everywhere in the realm of the gods, people were discussing the battle in the Samsara temple. There were those who were suspicious, those who were shocked, those who were indifferent, and there were those who were gloating. However, after this battle, everyone knew that Ling Zhao, the Heaven's Chosen One, had officially returned to the realm of the gods and became the focus of the entire realm of the gods. At the same time, someone revealed that Ling Zhao was also the person who had saved the white dragon horse and killed Hua Dijie a few days ago. In the Samsara temple, the holy sons and holy daughters of the various immortal sanctuaries who had come to watch the ceremony were terrified. They were no longer as proud and arrogant as they were when they arrived. They hurriedly returned to their respective immortal sanctuaries and informed them of what had happened in the Samsara temple. The fall of a heavenly venerate patriarch was unbearable for the various immortal sacred lands. Other than those elusive imperial emperors, the heavenly venerables were the true powerhouses of the various holy lands. They were the absolute rulers of the various holy lands, and they were also the ones who had the greatest hope of taking that step. The death of one was a great loss, not to mention that 8 celestial venerables had fallen this time. Ling Xiao, you must die. The war god temple must be wiped out. In the ancestral land of the Chinese, pairs of cold eyes pierced through the void like lightning, emitting a terrifying sharpness. Rumble. In various forbidden zones and secluded grotto heavens, figures with terrifying auras appeared one after another. These were great elders and old ancestors, who were rarely seen in many years, but because of Empyrean Radiant Peak's death, they had all emerged from seclusion. They naturally felt extremely shocked at the first moment. They did not expect Ling Xiao to not only break through to the Celestial Venerate realm in a short 200 years, but his combat strength was also so terrifying that he could kill 8 Celestial Venerates consecutively. However, their hearts were filled with anger and killing intent. How many years had it been? No one had ever dared to provoke the Chinese, and the Chinese had always considered themselves the leader of the emperor race. Ling Xiao's actions were tantamount to slapping the Chinese in the face. It was simply a great humiliation. Ling Xiao must die. The most important thing was the heavenly fate on Ling Xiao. If it was obtained by a prodigy of the Chinese, he would become the new son of fate. Once he became the 10th great emperor of the human race, the Chinese would have 2 great emperors and would definitely be able to last for hundreds of millions of years. This was the ultimate glory. Therefore, the Chinese were also the ones who wanted to kill Ling Xiao the most. As for the 9 imperial gates, the space-time heavenly gate, the heavenly curse sect, the 5 elements celestial sect, the nirvana shrine, and the darkness heavenly sect, these 6 immortal holy lands had long been tied to the Chinese, and they were also the strongest forces in the divine realm. After learning about the death of the celestial venerate old ancestor, they were also extremely furious. On this day, everyone in the divine world heard a series of enraged roars reverberating through the void. One after another, the figures of supreme experts appeared like suns, all of them shouting for Ling Xiao to be killed. Now that Ling Xiao had offended the Samsara temple, there were 7 immortal holy lands and 1 supreme emperor race in total. These 8 superforces quickly took action. With the Chinese in the lead, they first sent out many experts to monitor the combat god temple's every move. Then, the 8 superforces sent out their supreme elders to gather in the Chinese for a meeting to discuss how to deal with Ling Xiao. In addition, they also sent out envoys to the chaotic heavenly sect, the Destiny Shrine, and the Myriad Buddha Temple, hoping to invite the 3 immortal holy lands to join forces. However, although the attitude of the 3 immortal holy lands was very polite, they still tactfully refused. They displayed an attitude of not wanting to get involved no matter what. Although the 8 superforces were a little depressed, they did not force the issue. In a majestic palace of the Chinese, a few figures with terrifying auras sat cross-legged in the void. Their divine consciousness intertwined like dazzling lightning as they discussed how to deal with Ling Xiao. The chaotic heavenly sect is not a big deal. They have always been aloof and did not participate in the disputes of the divine realm. However, those hypocrites from the Destiny Shrine are really despicable. 200 years ago, they clearly participated in the operation against Ling Xiao, but now they want to stay out of it? An old figure sneered, his eyes like lightning, piercing through the void. Although the hypocrites from the Destiny Shrine are despicable, they can see a glimmer of the future from the river of destiny. Do they think we can't win this battle? See a glimmer of the future? At our level of cultivation, don't you understand that there are countless possibilities in the future? The impact on us is negligible. The Shrine of Fortune can't comprehend it. I think they're just scared by Ling Xiao. And those bald donkeys from the Myriad Buddha Temple. I suspect that it's not that they don't want to take action, but that they are hiding in the dark to take advantage of the situation. This has always been their way of doing things. It doesn't matter if they participate or not, it won't affect our operation this time. Ling Xiao must die. That's right, Ling Xiao must die. However, there is one thing that we must make clear. All the treasures on him, including the Supreme Emperor techniques, Emperor scriptures, Supreme Emperor weapons, Chaos treasures, and so on, must be divided equally among the 8 super forces. We must not fight among ourselves and give Ling Xiao a chance to defeat us one by one. Agreed. Agreed. Among the Chinese, the 8 super forces quickly reached an agreement and began to discuss the plan to kill Ling Xiao. Chapter 28:13. The entire God's world was waiting for the reaction of the Chinese and the 7 immortal sanctuaries. Ling Xiao's massacre of the 8 holy masters shocked everyone. At the same time, they were filled with worry. After all, the 12 immortal sanctuaries and the emperor tribes had been in the God's world for hundreds of millions of years. They had a strong foundation and possessed various powerful trump cards and techniques. Although Ling Xiao was powerful, could he really fend off the attacks of the 8 super forces? Everyone could see that the God's world was in an uproar because of this. Many of the humans in the God's world idolized Ling Xiao and even thought that he would become the 10th emperor of the human race. However, they knew that Ling Xiao was in a situation where he had the entire world as his enemy. What Ling Xiao had to face next would be the craziest revenge from the various super forces. Could Ling Xiao and the War God Temple really fend them off? On the surface, the God's world was in an uproar. However, the undercurrents were turbulent and a storm was coming. Many people had a premonition that a great war that would shock the entire God realm and even the entire universe was about to erupt. However, all of this had nothing to do with Ling Xiao for the time being. Ling Xiao brought Shui Wei, Lu Bai, Peng Tiangang, and the white dragon horse out of the Samsara temple and returned to the War God Temple. Young God of War Ling Xiao has slaughtered the 8 holy masters and returned with a great victory. Congratulations to Ling Xiao and the War God Temple. In the sky above the War God Temple, the white dragon horse roared loudly. Immediately, everyone in the War God Temple was alarmed. What? Ling Xiao is back? Young God of War is really back? He slaughtered the 8 holy masters? The white dragon horse's voice reverberated throughout the War God Temple, shocking everyone. Bush, bush, bush. Figures flew out from the 9 hovering mountains of the War God Hall one after another. Their eyes were filled with excitement. They saw it. Above the 9 heavens, Ling Xiao's demeanor was peerless, and his demeanor was extraordinary. A faint smile hung on the corner of his mouth, and his eyes revealed a trace of excitement. Ling Xiao was really back. I'm afraid you don't know. This time, Ling Xiao went to the Samsara temple, took back Fairy Shui Wei, killed 8 celestial masters, and crippled Qin Miexing and celestial master Yufeng. The entire Samsara temple was as silent as cicadas in winter. No one dared to stop Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao has helped you pay back all the anger you've suffered for the past 200 years. The white dragon horse was full of pride as it bragged about Ling Xiao's exploits in the Samsara temple. Killed 8 holy masters? Crippled Qin Miexing and Yufeng? No one dares to stop you in the Samsara temple? Invincible in a single battle. Is our young God of War? Temples whites of Ling's wars with Godzes with its God of the kings of the world of gods of their with of people of their of theirs of their s of their world of thems of s of their? Of course of our of their. Congratulations to the War God Temple. Our young God of War is invincible. The War God Temple is invincible. The elders and disciples seemed to have gone crazy. Their eyes were filled with fanatical worship as they roared crazily. It was as though they wanted to vent all the anger they had suffered for the past 200 years. The War God Temple had suffered for the past 200 years. They had been targeted by the Chinese and the immortal sacred grounds. Countless elders and disciples of the War God Temple had died. The most tragic thing was that they had died not at the hands of the demon race or the other races, but at the hands of their own people. This was all because Ling Xiao was from the War God Temple. They wanted to take revenge on Ling Xiao, so they took their anger out on the War God Temple. Seeing those genius disciples of the War God Temple fall before they could mature, seeing those ice-cold corpses, The hearts of every disciple of the War God Temple were filled with monstrous fury and killing intent. They had been suppressed for too long. Today, however, Ling Xiao had returned. He had returned with a great victory and established his undefeatable reputation. This made their blood boil and they couldn't control themselves. Many elders and disciples' eyes were red, and tears were streaming down their faces. Are these all the disciples of the War God Temple left? Ling Xiao muttered to himself as he clenched his fists. His eyes were incomparably sharp, like a peerless divine sword. They contained a cold, killing intent, causing his entire body to be filled with anger. With Ling Xiao's current divine thought, he could easily cover the entire War God Temple. Naturally, he could see the current situation of the War God Temple. The War God Temple's 9 branches had less than 100,000 disciples left. It was too tragic. One had to know that the 12 immortal sacred grounds had stood in the God realm for hundreds of millions of years. Which one of them did not have millions of disciples? Even if the War God Temple was ranked last and its strength had been damaged, it still had millions of disciples. Now, there was only 1/10 of them left. Ling Xiao's expression was grave. He felt as though there was a flame burning in his chest. The War God Temple has millions of disciples. In the past 200 years, close to 100,000 have died in battle. The rest have all left. Some of them could not take such a tragic situation, and some were persuaded to leave by the elders of the sect. The remaining 100,000 disciples are all the most loyal disciples of the War God Temple. Lu Bai said with a bitter smile. There was a deep weariness in his eyes. In the past 200 years, the War God Temple had been targeted and suppressed like never before. The one who was under the most pressure was Lu Bai. As the War God of the War God Temple, he was everyone's faith and hope. Therefore, he was able to break through 4 small realms from the Saint King realm to the Heavenly Venerable realm in the past 200 years. He was barely able to support the War God Temple. They will pay the price. I promise. Ling Xiao said word by word. His eyes were filled with monstrous sharpness. Ling Xiao's heart was filled with anger, but also deep sorrow. This was the so-called pillar of the human tribe? The so-called immortal sacred grounds and supreme God tribe? Now, the great tribulation of the era was coming. The God realm had become a big piece of meat in the eyes of everyone in the universe. The human tribe had become the target of public criticism without knowing it. They did not think about how to unite all the living forces to resist the invasion of the demon tribe and the alien tribe. Instead, they only thought about how to suppress their own people and eliminate their dissidents. In this way, where was the hope of the human tribe? Ling Xiao, I know you are disappointed. So am I. But those people deserve to die. They have long forgotten their identity as the human tribe. They only care about benefits, power, and themselves. Therefore, we should kill all of them and carve out a path for ourselves. Pangatiangang looked at Ling Xiao and said slowly, End of chapter. Chapter 28:14. Kill our way out of this mess? You're right. The hope of the human race lies in their deaths. Once we get rid of all these scum, the human race might have a new hope. Ling Xiao nodded. The murderous intent in his eyes slowly receded and he regained his composure. He had to take it one step at a time. He had to settle his debts one by one. Killing the 8 heavenly venerables was nothing to Ling Xiao. It was just interest. Next, he would make the Chinese and the immortal sacred grounds pay 10 times or even 100 times the price. Because of me, everyone has suffered for the past 200 years. You didn't leave the War God Temple, the sect, or me. I'm very grateful. However, what you don't know is that what we're going to face next will be crueler than what we've been through for the past 200 years. Ling Xiao floated in the air, his gaze sweeping across the eyes of every elder and disciple. His voice was solemn and serious. No one said anything. They listened to Ling Xiao quietly without any change in their expressions. You know, I did kill the 8 heavenly venerables. However, whether it's the Chinese, the Samsara Temple, or the immortal sacred grounds, they won't let this matter rest. They want to kill me, they want to destroy the War God Temple. Therefore, the War God Temple and I will be facing the greatest danger. I might die, the War God Temple might be destroyed, and all of you might die. If you choose to leave now, I won't blame you. The War God won't blame you either. If you stay, you might die. However, if you leave the War God Temple, you might be able to survive. After hearing Ling Zhao's words, everyone looked confused and panicked. However, they all became determined in the end. No one chose to leave. Even in the face of the terrifying pressure from the Samsara Temple, the Chinese, and the immortal sacred grounds, they did not choose to leave. Young War God, you don't have to say this. We've already made up our minds. We'll live and die with the War God Temple. If the War God Temple is destroyed, we'll go to hell together. His voice was slightly trembling, but it was incomparably resolute. Brother Ling Xiao, I'm not going to give you a chance. A young disciple who looked a little immature said bravely. That's right. We'll live and die with the War God Temple. We'll live and die with the War God Temple. The young disciple's words seemed to have ignited the fighting spirit in everyone's hearts. After a moment of silence, everyone began to roar wildly. Their faces were all red, and their bodies were trembling. Their blood was boiling, and their fighting spirit was soaring. Their eyes were filled with the determination to disregard life and death and their fanatical worship for Ling Xiao. They knew they were going to die, but they still chose to stay. Ling Xiao suddenly felt his eyes heat up. These were the disciples of the War God Temple, the spirit of the human race. Ling Xiao could see the hope of the human race in them. What's there to see? Damn it, why do you have to be so emotional? My eyes are hurting from the wind. The white dragon horse stealthily wiped the corners of its eyes. Seeing Pangu Tiangang looking at it with a weird face, it immediately became angry out of shame. I just feel that joining the War God Temple is the best choice for me. To live and die with the War God Temple? Hee hee, if I can kill all those holy sons and holy daughters, even if I die, it will be worth it. Panga Heavenly Dipper said with a faint smile. His eyes were filled with deep emotion. The War God Temple only had 100,000 disciples and elders left. They knew very well the consequences of Ling Zhao's massacre of the 8 heavenly venerables. Perhaps the War God Temple was already surrounded and about to receive a storm of attacks. But they still chose to stay. Even Lu Bai, although he looked very calm, his slender fingers were trembling slightly. It showed that his heart was not as calm as he looked. Swear to live and die with the War God Temple? Good. Junior brothers, junior sisters, elders, since you trust the War God Temple, Lord War God, and me so much, we will definitely not let you down. I won't say much. The war is coming. From today onwards, the War God Temple will seal the mountain and prepare for the war. Ling Zhao's eyes shone brightly as he spoke slowly to the crowd. Rumble. As soon as Ling Xiao finished speaking, the celestial the arch seal in Lu Bai's palm was dazzling. It floated up and emitted dazzling lightning, instantly blooming with boundless light like the sun. The entire War God shrine glowed with resplendent light. Divine chains of order intertwined with each other as runes rose into the air, forming a gigantic barrier that enveloped everyone within it. The Supreme Emperor Ray of the War God Temple had also begun to awaken. Ling Xiao felt an incomparably familiar feeling from the celestial the arch seal. His eyes flashed and he immediately understood that it was the aura of the Thunder Spirit King. After the Flipping Sky Seal, the War God Seal and the Celestial the Arch Seal merged, they formed the complete Celestial the Arch Seal. The Thunder Spirit King had also become the weapon spirit of the Celestial the Arch Seal. Moreover, Ling Xiao could feel that he could also control the Celestial the Arch Seal. Junior Martial Uncle Ling Xiao, this is the Celestial the Arch Seal. The Thunder Spirit King is now the weapon spirit of the Celestial the Arch Seal. You can also control the Celestial the Arch Seal. The War God Temple is in your hands. No matter what choice you make, I will support you. Lu Bai looked at Ling Xiao seriously and said. The Celestial the Arch Seal also flew towards Ling Xiao. Master, long time no see. I have missed you so much. The Thunder Spirit King's excited voice could be heard from the Celestial the Arch Seal. The arch seal shone brightly and became transparent. A majestic old man's figure appeared from the seal. His face was filled with excitement. It was the Thunder Spirit King. You have become the weapon spirit of the arch seal? You are getting stronger now. However, with the weapon spirit, the arch seal's power can be unleashed. It should not be a problem to kill an imperial emperor, right? Ling Xiao said with a smile. Kill an imperial emperor? That's not enough. However, as long as an imperial emperor dares to enter the War God Temple, I will activate the Supreme Emperor's array and kill him. The Thunder Spirit King said with a cough. Very good. However, I do not need you to kill an imperial emperor. I just need you to protect the elders and disciples of the War God Temple at the critical moment. They are the foundation of the War God Temple. None of them can be missing. Ling Xiao said slowly. All right. However, do you really have a way to deal with the upcoming crisis? The Thunder Spirit King said hesitantly. Upcoming? You may not know this, but I am looking forward to it. Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. There was a sharp light in his eyes. Ling Xiao was also curious. If the experts of the Chinese, the Samsara Temple and the Immortal Holy Lands were triggered and came to the War God Temple to kill Ling Xiao, what kind of scene would it be? Chapter 28:15. Rumble. The entire War God Temple was enveloped by a huge transparent barrier. The War God Temple had sealed off the mountain. At this moment, the entire divine world was paying attention to the War God Temple's every move. The news of the War God Temple sealing off the mountain quickly spread throughout the divine world, causing everyone to be shocked. Shaoli said, Sui Meng. Is the War God Temple going to fight to the end? The Supreme Emperor formation had been activated. It would not be easy to break the Supreme Emperor formation of the War God Temple. Even the Supreme Emperor formation had been activated. This showed the War God Temple's attitude. Everyone was watching. What would the Chinese and the Samsara Temple do? Although these immortal holy lands appeared to be very calm, everyone was extremely keen to discover that many people had already appeared around the War God Temple and were monitoring its every move. It seemed like the immortal holy lands were really going to attack the War God Temple. Inside the War God Temple, Ling Xiao waved his hand and a resplendent river immediately appeared in the air. The origin energy in the river was as dense as the stars, causing the surrounding space to tremble violently. Auspicious vapors rose and resplendent light shone. The origin energy of the entire War God Hall actually began to skyrocket in an instant. A total of 9 rivers appeared in the void. Those are origin elixir rivers. Someone exclaimed. His body trembled and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Rumble. Each of the 9 long rivers in the void contained countless origin elixirs. They converged together like a torrent, spewing out extremely rich origin energy that was as bright as the stars. These were origin elixir rivers. Each origin elixir river contained tens of billions of origin elixirs. Everyone in the War God Temple was stunned. They did not expect Ling Xiao to take out 9 origin elixir rivers at once. The war is coming. I hope everyone can increase their strength as much as possible. I obtained these 9 origin elixir rivers by chance. Now, I'm taking them all out for your cultivation. How much you can absorb will depend on your luck. Ling Xiao said with a smile. 9 origin elixir rivers? Junior Marshal Uncle, you're really generous. Lu Bai exclaimed in surprise. The War God Temple was poor, very poor. When they were in the Samsara Temple, everyone saw the 18 elixir rivers of origin floating above the Samsara Temple. That was the foundation of the Samsara Temple. However, the War God Temple did not have an origin source pill river, not even one. All the origin source pills were given to the elders and disciples to cultivate. How could they have seen so many origin source pills, and 9 origin source pill rivers at that? They are willing to live and die with the War God Temple. What are some origin pills to them? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Rumble. Ling Xiao took a step forward and stepped into the air. Dazzling light burst out from his body. In an instant, golden light gushed out from his heart. Divine chains of order shot out and shrouded the surroundings. The 3,000 divine chains of order contained the 3,000 laws of the Great Path. They intertwined with each other and formed a mysterious area. All the disciples and elders of the War God Hall felt their spirits rise. Their bodies glowed with resplendent light, forming a mysterious resonance with the Tao of heaven and earth. They directly entered a state of Tao comprehension. The Good Fortune Jade Disc. Ling Xiao activated the power of the Good Fortune Jade Disc and created an artistic space of the 3,000 laws of the Great Path, allowing the people of the War God Temple to enter a state of Tao comprehension. Moreover, as the majestic energy of the 9 origin source pill rivers was drawn and integrated into the bodies of the disciples and elders of the War God Temple, their auras began to skyrocket. That's really a big deal. Ling Xiao, are you planning to raise the 100,000 elders and disciples of the War God Temple to the Saint Realm? Pangu Tiangang exclaimed. To become a saint, one had to comprehend the laws of the Great Path of heaven and earth. Only by perfecting one's physical body, primordial spirit, heart force, or laws could one become a saint. However, comprehending the laws of the Great Path of heaven and earth was an extremely long process. Ling Xiao used the Good Fortune Jade Disc to derive the 3,000 laws of the Great Path, which increased the speed of comprehension by thousands of times. Everyone's cultivation began to rise rapidly. The hearts of the disciples and elders of the War God Temple were filled with gratitude and admiration. They didn't expect Ling Xiao to not only take out the 9 origin source pill rivers without batting an eye, but also create a space of 3,000 laws of the Great Path for them to cultivate and break through. Even an imperial emperor expert wouldn't be so generous. They all calmed down and comprehended the laws of the Great Path while refining the origin source pill. Their cultivation soared rapidly. Boom, boom, boom. Among the 100,000 elders and disciples of the War God Temple, there were people who constantly broke through to the next realm and began to undergo tribulation. There were even a few elders who had been stuck at the peak of the 9th Revolution half-saint realm who directly comprehended the laws of the Great Path. Once they became saints, they began to undergo tribulation. Rumble. In the War God Temple, dazzling lightning flashed and majestic auras rose. There were people who constantly broke through to the next realm, causing the entire War God Temple to show a majestic atmosphere. However, because the War God Temple sealed the mountain and activated the Almighty Emperor Ray, the scene of the breakthroughs was covered. People outside didn't know what was happening in the War God Temple. Ling Xiao returned to the War God Temple and saw many old friends. Lu Wenjing, Hu Zi, Yang Fan, Wu Xiong, and Gao Yang were all Ling Xiao's old friends. However, Feng Ya, that cute little girl, was no longer around. This made Ling Xiao feel a little sad. Little junior brother, this is Miss Xue Wei, right? Lu Wenjing looked at Xue Wei beside Ling Xiao and smiled. That's right. Xue Wei, come and greet the Grand Elder. Ling Xiao said with a smile. He felt that Lu Wenjing's gaze was a little strange, and it made his hair stand on end. Greetings, Grand Elder. Xue Wei's beautiful face blushed slightly as she greeted Lu Wenjing shyly. Little junior brother, you're really angry for a beauty. Good fellow, you actually rushed into the Samsara Temple and took Fairy Xue Wei back? However, I'm afraid you don't know that Jin Se has brought Chang Sheng to the War God Temple and is now in the War God Temple. Lu Wenjing transmitted his voice to Ling Xiao, his eyes revealing a hint of schadenfreude. Jin Se and Chang Sheng? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. He looked at Xue Wei guiltily and suddenly felt a little awkward. Ling Xiao suddenly felt his scalp tingle when he thought of Xue Wei and Jin Se meeting. Jin Se was Ling Xiao's lover in his previous life. It could be said that Jin Se was the one who supported Ling Xiao all the way to where he was today. Jin Se even gave birth to Ling Xiao's adorable daughter, Chang Sheng. As for Xue Wei, she was Ling Xiao's servant and also gave Ling Xiao warmth and strength. She had risked her life to save Ling Xiao many times. To Xue Wei, Ling Xiao was her everything. Although Ling Xiao went to the Samsara Temple to take Xue Wei back partly because of Jin Se's idea, Ling Xiao felt a little helpless and inexplicably guilty when he thought of the two women meeting. Chapter 28:16. Battle Temple. The once barren mountain had now completely changed its appearance. This sacred mountain floating in the sky was entirely resplendent with divine light. Auspicious vapors were rising from it, and clouds and mist were faintly discernible. There were towering ancient trees on the mountain, and strange flowers and herbs could be seen everywhere. There were spiritual apes, cranes, and many other rare beasts. It looked like a paradise for immortals. There was a bamboo forest at the top of the mountain. It was lush and green, swaying in the wind and emitting crisp sounds. An exquisite courtyard was built in front of a bamboo forest. Behind the bamboo forest was a sea of clouds that stretched as far as the eye could see. The mountain breeze blew, making one feel relaxed and happy. This was Ling Xiao Pavilion, the residence of young war god Ling Xiao. Even though Ling Xiao hadn't returned for 200 years, Ling Xiao Pavilion was still as new as ever. There were people coming every day to take care of it. Ling Xiao Pavilion wasn't just a place of worship for Battle Temple, it was also the place of worship for the entire War God Temple. Everyone believed and looked forward to Ling Xiao's return. At this moment, there was a woman in a red dress standing in front of Ling Xiao Pavilion. Her clothes fluttered in the wind, and she was holding a little girl's hand. It was like a perfect picture. It was Jin Sei and Chang Sheng. When Ling Xiao went to the Samsara Temple, Jin Sei left the Taishang Palace and came to the War God Temple, waiting for Ling Xiao's return. Looking at Ling Xiao and Xue Wei in the sky, Jin Sei's lips were full of gentleness and elegance. She was calm and peaceful, and her entire person was radiating a bright light. Ling Xiao held Xue Wei's hand and landed on Battle Mountain. When Xue Wei saw Jin Sei, she suddenly felt a little nervous. Her face turned slightly red. After a long time, she mustered up her courage and raised her head to call out, "Sister Jin Sei." Jin Sei walked over slowly and held Xue Wei's hand naturally. She smiled and said, "Sister Xue Wei, welcome home." These simple words filled Xue Wei's heart with a warm current, and her eyes were filled with gratitude. She had gathered all her courage to come see Jin Sei with Ling Xiao. Her heart was filled with anxiety. She didn't know what Jin Sei would think of her, but she still came. "Sister Jin Sei, Xue Wei wanted to say something but was stopped by Jin Sei. "Sister Xue Wei, you don't have to say it, I understand. All these years, when I wasn't by big brother Ling Xiao's side, it's all thanks to you taking care of him. You've risked your life several times for him. Big sister is very grateful. You don't have to feel sorry for me. On the contrary, I'm very grateful to have you by big brother Ling Xiao's side." Jin Sei said seriously, her eyes full of sincerity. "Sister Jin Sei, thank you. I'm very happy." Xue Wei blushed and said emotionally. "Silly girl. At our level of cultivation, we can be said to be immortal. In these long years, there are fewer and fewer people who can stay, and they are also worthy of being cherished. Moreover, since you've chosen to return to the War God Hall with Big Brother Ling Xiao at this time, I'm afraid it'll be extremely dangerous. Those immortal Saint Lands won't let this matter rest so easily." Jin Sei smiled. "I'm not afraid." Xue Wei said seriously, "I know. Little sister Xue Wei, let's be together forever and never separate again. Chongqing, come and greet your second mother." Jin Sei said with a smile. Then she pulled little Chongqing over and said to Xue Wei, "Chongqing greets second mother. Second mother, you're so beautiful. No wonder father wanted to save you. When I grow up, it'll be great if I can be as beautiful as second mother." Chongqing blinked her beautiful big eyes and tilted her little head as she said obediently, "You're Chongqing? You're so cute. You'll definitely be as beautiful as Sister Jin Sei in the future." When Xue Wei saw Chongqing, her eyes instantly lit up. She felt as if her heart was about to melt. She carried Chongqing up with a bright and joyful smile on her face. She hurriedly took out all kinds of rare and precious fruits for Chongqing. Chongqing also ate happily, and her little mouth became even sweeter. This made Xue Wei's heart burst with joy, and she was incomparably happy. Seeing this scene in front of him, Ling Xiao's heart was finally at ease. He suddenly understood that Jin Sei's words were meant for Xue Wei and also for him. She was telling him to cherish the people in front of him. After going through so many things, as well as the separation of life and death, the most important thing was to live in the present. Brother Ling Xiao, look, Changxing really likes Xue Wei. Jin Sei walked to Ling Xiao's side and smiled gently. Thank you, Jin Sei. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and said seriously. It's too distant to say thank you between us. I think you'd better hurry up and choose an auspicious date to marry Sister Xue Wei. Jin Sei said with a smile. Marry, of course I'll marry her. I want both you and Xue Wei. I'll give you the grandest wedding. When the time comes, all the experts in the universe will come to celebrate for you. Ling Xiao nodded his head and said proudly. However, both Jin Sei and Ling Xiao knew that now wasn't the time. Not to mention the revenge of the immortal sacred grounds, the most important thing was that the great calamity of the epoch was coming. The universe would be swept up in this calamity. No one could escape from this calamity. Ling Xiao had a lot on his shoulders. He had to fight. Fight for himself, fight for the people he cared about, and fight for the human race. Jin Sei understood Ling Xiao's pressure, so she also wanted to share it with Ling Xiao as much as possible. Brother Ling Xiao, are you confident in the next battle? Don't worry. If they dare to come, they'll all be buried in my War God Hall. My War God Hall will be letting them off easy by being their burial ground. Ling Xiao and Jin Sei smiled at each other. There was no need for words. At the peak of the mountain, the bamboo forest was crisp, and the sea of clouds was faintly discernible. Resplendent sunlight shone on the sea of clouds, illuminating a golden glow. It was extremely beautiful. Ling Xiao and Jin Sei stood side by side, while Xue Wei hugged little Changxing. The peak of the mountain was filled with laughter, forming an incomparably warm scene. No one in the War God Hall disturbed Ling Xiao. They quietly left, leaving them some space. In the distance, 9 origin source elixir rivers flowed majestically, crossing the 9 floating sacred mountains of the War God Hall. They contained an incomparably majestic origin source qi that surged into the bodies of the War God Hall members. In the void, a resplendent sun interweaved with 3,000 great Tao nomological laws, causing everyone to fall into a state of Tao comprehension. All the disciples of the War God Hall were rapidly increasing their cultivation. Their strength was rising rapidly with every passing moment. Their hearts were filled with a fire, and their eyes were filled with a strong desire to fight. They knew what they would face next, so they cultivated like crazy. They weren't afraid of death. They were only afraid that they weren't strong enough. The entire War God Temple seemed to be undergoing a complete metamorphosis. P.S. Sorry, I'll have to write less today. This is a climax plot. Mu Yu's thoughts are a little messy right now. I'll think carefully and try to write a satisfactory plot. Everyone, please forgive me. I'll write more tomorrow. Apex. Chapter 28:17. 10 days. The God realm was peaceful for 10 days. However, everyone knew that these 10 days of peace were only the calm before the storm. Soon, there would be a great war that would engulf the entire divine realm. Although the War God Hall had sealed the mountain, many strong cultivators began to appear around the War God Hall. They exuded powerful saintly way auras. They were at least saints. Those people became more and more unscrupulous. In the end, they even gave up on concealing themselves and released powerful Saint Path aura to surround the War God Hall. The various immortal holy lands were finally going to make a move. The Shangqing heavenly domain had become extremely lively. Many people from the God realm had come to the Shangqing heavenly domain, wanting to witness the great battle that would shake the entire God realm. There were a total of 4 immortal sacred grounds in the Shangqing celestial domain. They were the War God Hall, the 9 imperial gates, the 5 elements celestial sect, and the heavenly curse sect. The 9-fold imperial obelisk, the heavenly sect of 5 elements, and the heavenly curse sect had basically become the mortal enemies of the War God Hall. These 3 immortal sacred grounds had even acted as the bridgehead, sending out large groups of experts to surround the War God Hall. Mount War God had already become the center of the storm in the divine realm. Do you think the War God Temple's Emperor formation can stop the attacks of so many immortal sacred grounds? Someone commented. In the distance, the War God mountain range had already been sealed by an incomparably huge barrier. The entire War God Temple was enveloped within it. No one knew the situation inside. Everyone thought that the War God Temple was determined to fight to the death with the numerous immortal holy lands. He shouldn't be able to block it. The War God Temple's Emperor formation was known as the Primal Chaos Celestial Battle Formation. However, it was destroyed by the demon world in the battle 1,000,000 years ago, so it was incomplete. This time, the various immortal holy grounds will send their emperors and extreme Tao Emperor weapons. The incomplete chaotic heavens battle formation will not be able to stop them. Someone sighed softly. Celestial Emperor? Hiss, that was most likely a supreme elite of the immortal realm. Even the 12 immortal sacred grounds and the various monarch clans don't all have imperial emperors. The imperial emperors are actually mobilizing for the War God Hall in Lingxiao? Think about it. Even celestial emperors would have to be cautious of the current Lingxiao. Lingxiao slaughtered 8 great heavenly venerables and fiercely slapped the faces of the various immortal holy lands. If they let it go just like that, I'm afraid they'll really become the laughingstock of the divine realm. That's right. Moreover, they have always coveted Lingxiao's celestial luck and the wordless heavenly book. This time, I'm afraid they will go all out and kill Lingxiao. I'm afraid the War God Temple and Lingxiao are really in danger. Everyone discussed animatedly. Most of them looked down on the War God Temple and Lingxiao. After all, the disparity in strength was too great. Although Lingxiao had killed 8 heavenly venerables and was known as the invincible heavenly venerables, he had not broken through to the monarch realm. He was no match for an imperial emperor. What's more, the various immortal holy lands were going all out this time. Just the number of heavenly venerate powerhouses would most likely be a few dozen. Such a grand battle was already comparable to the battle 1,000,000 years ago. Among the crowd, some were gloating, some were indifferent, some were worried, and some were sympathetic. However, no one could interfere in a battle of this level. Rumble. In the void, divine light shone brightly. Many powerful figures flew across the sky and stepped on the void. They looked at the War God Temple in the distance, which was enveloped by the barrier. Their eyes were like lightning, and their expressions were cold. There were more than 100 figures, and each of them exuded a majestic holy path aura. It was terrifying to the extreme. They vaguely surrounded the War God Temple. Those are the people from the 9 imperial gates, 5 elements heaven sect, and heavenly curse sect. TSK, I didn't expect the leaders of the 3 holy lands to come. Someone exclaimed, and there was a hint of respect in his eyes. The 3 figures in the lead were the imperial masters of the 9 imperial gates, Yun Tu, 5 elements Saint Lord, and heavenly curse master. Yun Tu was the imperial master of the 9 imperial gates. He wore a golden dragon robe, an imperial crown on his head, and a pair of cloud boots on his feet. His entire body emitted a bright light, and he looked majestic and mysterious. The 5 elements Saint Lord was a handsome young man in a Taoist robe. His aura was ethereal and mysterious, and there was a faint smile on his face. The heavenly curse master looked extremely old. He wore a loose black robe, and his face was full of wrinkles. His entire body was filled with a gloomy aura, and when his eyes opened and closed, they exuded a terrifying aura. Their cultivation had all reached the heavenly venerate realm. The 3 heavenly venerates arrived at the War God Temple menacingly and directly sealed the War God Temple. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Many figures traversed the void, holding array flags, array plates, talisman treasures, and various other treasures in their hands. They dug into the surrounding mountains, moved the mountains, and emptied the seas. They set up an array in an orderly manner. Are they setting up an array? Are they trying to break the barrier of the War God Temple with the power of an array? Someone said slowly, they're not trying to break the barrier with the power of an array. They're setting up the Supreme Emperor Ray. They're trying to annihilate the War God Temple and leave no one alive. A formation master with an incomparably old face suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Supreme Emperor Ray? How? How is this possible? Everyone was in disbelief. The Supreme Emperor Array contained extreme emperor aura. Even an imperial emperor would find it difficult to set up a complete emperor array. How could the three immortal sacred grounds set up an emperor array? Nothing is impossible. I think the array they're setting up is very similar to the Great 12 Divine Fiends formation of the Chinese. If the Chinese bring the extreme emperor weapon, the capital Heaven Divine Fiends flag, they'll be able to complete the Great 12 Divine Fiends formation immediately. By then, no one will be able to escape from it. The old array master said with a wry smile. The Great 12 Divine Fiends formation? It seems like the Chinese are determined to destroy the War God Temple and kill Ling Xiao. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock. The battle had not even begun, but there was already such a huge formation. The 9 Imperial Gates, 5 Elements Celestial Sect, and Heavenly Curse Sect were the vanguard to monitor the War God Temple's every move. At the same time, they were going to set up the Great 12 Divine Fiends formation to trap the War God Temple. Monarch Yun 2, it seems like the Great 12 Divine Fiends formation will be completed soon. When the capital Heaven Divine Fiends flag descends and suppresses the core of the formation, it'll be enough to kill anyone below the Imperial Emperor realm. The 5 Elements Sacred Lord said with a smile. The War God Temple doesn't know what's good for them. They colluded with Ling Xiao, the traitor of the human race. They don't deserve to be on the same level as us. Today, we'll use this battle to tell everyone that the sacred grounds are not to be humiliated. Monarch Yun too sneered coldly. That's right. The sacred grounds are not to be humiliated. Does Ling Xiao really think that he's invincible after breaking through to the Heavenly Venerable realm and killing a few Heavenly Venerables? Such an arrogant person doesn't deserve to be the chosen one of the human race. We must kill him today. The Heavenly Curse Lord said coldly. Chapter 28:18. They were the lords of the Saint Lands. Every move they made contained unfathomable heavenly might. They controlled the life and death of billions of living beings and had long cultivated an invincible force. Moreover, they had extreme Tao Emperor weapons. They were confident that even if they faced Ling Xiao, they would be able to kill him. Inside the War God Temple, everyone had a clear view of the outside world. They've gone too far. Do they really think the War God Temple is a pushover? The Pango Heavenly Dipper's expression was cold and his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Believe it, they really think the War God Temple is a pushover. The 9 Imperial Obelisk, Heavenly Curse Sect, and 5 Elements Celestial Sect have sent out 3 Heavenly Venerables, hundreds of Saint Kings, and thousands of saints. Without Ling Xiao, I'm afraid these people would be able to slaughter the War God Temple. The White Dragon Horse smiled lazily. 12 Capital Heaven Divine Fiends formation? Looks like they're waiting for the Capital Heaven Divine Fiends flag of the Chinese. Once the flag arrives and the Emperor formation is set up, they're going to catch a turtle in a jar. Lu Bai's robe fluttered as a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. He also saw that the 3 immortal Saint Lands were setting up the 12 Capital Heaven Divine Fiends formation at a glance. Standing beside Lu Bai was an old man in a black robe with white hair and beard. His hair danced wildly in the wind, making him look very fiery. At this moment, his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Lu Bai, we can't let them set up the 12 Capital Heaven Divine Fiends formation. Otherwise, once the flag arrives, we'll all be trapped here. In my opinion, why don't we take this opportunity to kill some people and destroy the 12 Capital Heaven Divine Fiends formation? The old man in a black robe was eager to try. Old ancestor, I think we shouldn't act rashly. Junior Marshal Uncle Ling Xiao told us not to take the initiative before he went into seclusion. When he comes out, he'll have a way to solve the crisis of the War God Temple. Lu Bai smiled bitterly at the old man in a black robe. The old man in a black robe was called Zhan Feng. Celestial Master Zhan Feng was the only celestial master in the War God Temple other than Liu Bai. He had been protecting the War God Temple all these years, sheltering the War God Temple from the wind and rain. Before Liu Bai grew up, he had been guarding the War God Temple by himself. Therefore, Liu Bai had a deep respect for Zhan Feng, who was also the guardian of the War God Temple. Emperor Zhan Feng was also very famous in the entire divine realm. He had always been known as someone who did not fear death and did not value his life. He was also known by others as an old lunatic. His entire body was covered in thorns, and he was an existence that no one dared to provoke. His temper was extremely fiery. He had been suppressing his anger for a long time. When he saw Monarch Yun II, Five Elements Saint Lord, and Heavenly Curse Master outside the barrier, he couldn't help but want to rush over and stomp on their faces. Ling Xiao? That little baby? Although he is the son of heaven, he killed 8 Empyreans in a row, which really shocked me. I'm afraid I'm not that little baby's match now. However, the burden on his shoulders is too heavy. The safety of the War God Temple cannot be placed on his shoulders. The people of the War God Temple dare to fight and die. If they want to destroy the War God Temple, then this old man will make them pay a price that they can't bear. Emperor Zhan Feng's battle intent rose in his eyes as he slowly spoke. He had never met Ling Xiao before. He had always been in seclusion in the War God Temple. When he came out this time, Ling Xiao was in seclusion as well. Therefore, he had only heard of Ling Xiao and had never seen him before. However, he understood that Ling Xiao had too much pressure on his shoulders. The War God Temple could not be his burden. It should be his backer. Emperor Zhan Feng's words made Pangu Tiangong's blood boil. He immediately said, "Ancestor, I'll go with you. I'll go slaughter those people who set up the formation. Since they dared to go against the War God Temple, then we'll ruthlessly tear off a few pieces of flesh from their bodies." Good boy. Not bad, not bad. You have the demeanor of this ancestor when I was young. Pa. But it's too dangerous outside. In a while, the two of us will kill our way out. I'll stop those 3 old things. You seize the time to destroy the formation they set up. Oh right, you can ride this dragon horse. It has extreme speed and can bring you away at a critical moment. Emperor Zhan Feng immediately felt that Pangu Tiangang was very pleasing to the eye. He beamed with joy and firmly patted Pangu Tiangong's shoulder. Ancestor, I'd better not go, right? I only have the cultivation of an ordinary saint ruler. I can't beat those bastards. I'll stay and cheer for you, Ancestor. With Ancestor's supreme divine might, you'll definitely be able to scare those bastards until they piss their pants. White Dragon Horse's head shrank as it smiled bitterly. It secretly cursed in its heart. Zhan Feng, this old man, was going to go out and kill people, but he still wanted to bring it along? What an old scoundrel. He was deliberately tricking it. It was determined not to go. Are you sure you don't want to go? Since you're so useless, when Ling Xiao comes out of seclusion, I'll let him send you to those immortal holy lands to quell their anger. In any case, you don't have any ability and just like to cause trouble. Those immortal holy lands will definitely be very happy to see you. Emperor Zhan Feng looked at White Dragon Horse and said with a faint smile. After hearing Emperor Zhan Feng's words, White Dragon Horse's heart suddenly quivered. It quickly licked its face and said with a smile, "Ancestor, what are you saying? I was just joking just now. If Ancestor wants to go out and kill people, of course I have to follow. Today, I'll let them know how powerful I, Heavenly King White am." White Dragon Horse said righteously. It changed its attitude faster than flipping a book. Pangatungang was speechless for a while, his face full of disdain. "You can go out with me, but don't be scared at the critical moment." Pangu Tiangang glared at White Dragon Horse and said, "Don't worry. Do you think you can catch me with your trash? I'll definitely protect you." The White Dragon Horse said confidently. Its eyes were filled with pride. Having been with White Dragon Horse for 200 years, Pangu Tiangang had long known what kind of trash White Dragon Horse was. It was simply a hooligan horse, and the kind that had no integrity at all. In that case, Liu Bai, you'll hold the fort for us. The three of us will charge out and destroy the 12 divine beings' wraith formation." Emperor Zhan Feng ignored the flattering white dragon horse and said to Lu Bai, his eyes full of strong fighting spirit, "All right. In that case, ancestor, you guys be careful. I'll hold the fort for you. If there's any danger, don't stay and fight. Return immediately." Lu Bai was helpless and could only nod his head. He knew Emperor Zhan Feng's character very well. He was afraid that he would not be able to persuade him. Moreover, Lu Bai also understood that now was the best time to take the initiative to attack. Before the various immortal sacred grounds gathered, they would charge out and destroy the 12 divine beings' wraith formation. It would also boost the morale of the many disciples of the War God Temple. Although Lu Bai was indifferent, he was incomparably annoyed and angry. These immortal sacred grounds were too much. Did they really think that the War God Temple would be at their mercy? Chapter 28:19. Rumble. Celestial Master Zhan Feng's body emitted a blazing light as his fighting spirit soared. A huge black saber appeared in his hand, emitting a monstrous murderous aura. He took a step forward and charged out of the range of the War God Temple's barrier. He charged out. "Three old fogies, how dare you behave so atrociously in my War God Temple? Do you really think my 400-foot saber is easy to deal with?" Celestial Master Zhan Feng roared. The black saber in his hand shone with sharp saber light. It actually turned into a huge saber that was 40 meters long. It slashed down at Monarch Yun II, 5 Elements Saint Master, and Heavenly Curse Master like a tsunami. "Old lunatic? You're about to die. Why aren't you hiding in the War God Temple? How dare you come out to die?" Monarch Yun II's eyes flashed sharply as he said coldly, "Rumble." The three of them soared into the sky and unleashed a powerful saint aura. They collided with Celestial Master Zhan Feng's saber. The void trembled violently. The saber light was so sharp that it caused the void to rumble. Celestial Master Zhan Feng, Monarch Yun II, and the other two shuddered and retreated at the same time. "Ha! Do you think trash like you can destroy my War God Temple? Come on, I'll let you run 390 feet first. Let's see if you can dodge my 400-foot saber." Celestial Master Zhan Feng laughed loudly. His eyes were filled with fighting spirit as he pointed his huge saber at Monarch Yun II and the other two. "Old lunatic, since you want to die, we'll fulfill your wish. Kill him. The War God Temple will only have Lu Bai and Ling Xiao left. There's nothing to fear." Killing intent flashed through the 5 Elements Saint Lord's eyes as well. 5-colored divine light rose up from his hand and conjured a 5-colored divine mountain in the air. It crushed down on Celestial Master Zhan Feng. "Guard the 12 divine beings' formation well and prevent anyone from the War God Temple from destroying it. Old lunatic, don't think we don't know what you're planning. Since you're here, don't go back." The Heavenly Curse Master sneered and pointed his bamboo cane in the air. Suddenly, a black mist spread out like a rune and shrouded Celestial Master Zhan Feng. "Kill!" Monarch Yun II said coldly. He slammed his palm down from the sky. Instantly, the sky was filled with thunder and lightning. It was like a punishment from the heavens, containing boundless heavenly might. Amidst the endless lightning, a mysterious figure vaguely emerged, covering the sky and suppressing towards Emperor Zhan Feng. The true body of the Thunder Emperor. Monarch Yun II cultivated the lightning imperial scripture and grasped the laws of lightning. His attacks were overbearing and fierce, and his combat strength was terrifying to the extreme. As soon as he attacked, it was as if a heavenly tribulation had descended, causing the surrounding void to distort violently. "You want to kill me? With just you guys?" Emperor Zhan Feng sneered. There was no trace of fear in his eyes. The 400-foot-long saber in his hand shone brightly, instantly stirring up a terrifying storm. It rushed towards the lords of the 3 great saint lands in a mighty manner. There was a hint of madness in his eyes. His attacks were ferocious and overbearing. He was fighting with his life on the line. He did not put up any defense. He only unleashed his powerful saber will. Every move he made was aimed at his opponent's vital points. Emperor Jean Feng of the War God Temple? He's an old monster who has lived for God knows how long. However, it'll be difficult for him to fight against the lords of the three great saint lands alone, right? Someone exclaimed in surprise. No one had expected a great battle to break out in an instant. Originally, they thought that an intense battle would only break out when the experts of the various immortal saint lands gathered and besieged the War God Temple. However, they didn't expect Emperor Jean Feng to take the initiative and attack. The remaining saint rulers and saints all became extremely vigilant when they heard the heavenly curse lord's words. They guarded the surroundings of the 12 divine beings of the terminus and stared at the barrier of the War God Hall in case someone suddenly charged in and destroyed the formation. Boom! At this moment, the void behind a Saint King was silently torn open. Pangu's heavenly dipper rode on the white dragon horse and charged out. A huge mountain-splitting axe appeared in his hand, and he chopped down on the Saint King's head. That Saint King didn't expect someone to appear behind him. Moreover, his cultivation was only at the ordinary Saint King realm. He couldn't withstand the killing blow of Pangu's heavenly dipper. Blood filled the air. His head was directly split open by Pangu's heavenly dipper. His entire body was split into two halves. Blood rained down from the void. Even his primordial spirit didn't have a chance to escape. It was instantly annihilated. Pangu's heavenly dipper didn't hesitate at all. He continuously chopped down with his mountain-splitting axe. The axe radiance was so sharp that it could even shatter the void. The array flag that the Saint King was guarding instantly exploded. "It's Pangu King and Heavenly King by? Kill them!" Someone roared. Suddenly, the surrounding experts revealed monstrous killing intent in their eyes. Their expressions were gloomy, and their eyes were like lightning. They all charged toward Pangu's heavenly dipper and the white dragon horse. They didn't expect Pangu's heavenly dipper and the white dragon horse to be so cunning. They silently killed a Saint King right under their noses and even destroyed an array flag. This was simply a great humiliation to him. Rumble. Boom. Hundreds of Saint Kings and thousands of saints simultaneously unleashed terrifying attacks. Divine rainbows swept across the sky as if they were going to annihilate everything. These guys are crazy. Isn't it just killing a Saint King? The white dragon horse and Pangu's heavenly dipper were also shocked. They didn't expect these guys to be so crazy. The white dragon horse's body flickered and instantly turned into a dazzling stream of light, once again disappearing into the void. Even a heavenly venerable expert wouldn't dare to take such a terrifying attack head-on. The white dragon horse had the extreme speed of teleportation. At this moment, it was like a ghost. Its speed was so fast that even the Saint Kings couldn't catch its figure. Boom! The white dragon horse carried Pangu's heavenly dipper and instantly appeared tens of thousands of feet away. There were dozens of saints looking around vigilantly, guarding an array disk. However, Pangu's heavenly dipper's body flickered with blazing light. It slapped down from the sky, smashing the dozens of saints into a bloody mist. Even the array disk was destroyed. Then, before the crowd's attack arrived, they ran away again. "Ha! Awesome! How dare you come to my War God Temple and behave so atrociously? I'll make sure you don't leave." Pangu's heavenly dipper's fighting spirit rose as he laughed loudly. He constantly waved the Panga axe in his hand and rode the white dragon horse through the void. His speed was so fast that no one could lock onto him. In just a moment, a few Saint Kings and dozens of saints died in his hands. This kind of extreme killing and fighting made the blood in Pangu's heavenly dipper boil. Bang! Chapter 28:20. The actions of the white dragon horse and Pangu's celestial dipper had thoroughly enraged the experts of the three immortal sanctuaries. Sui Meng. Although Pangu King and Heavenly King Bai were famous and were known as the kings of the younger generation, they were nothing to the older generation. Moreover, there were hundreds of Saint Kings here, including Peak Saint Kings and Supreme Saint Kings. It was a great humiliation for them to let Pangu's Celestial Dipper and White Dragon Horse destroy so many array discs and array flags right under their noses. Void destruction. Suddenly, an old Saint King roared. Rumble. In an instant, the hundreds of Saint Kings shone brightly at the same time. Powerful space law gushed out from their bodies, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. The void shattered in an instant. Boundless turbulence in the void surged, emitting a destructive force. Pangu's Celestial Dipper and White Dragon Horse appeared before everyone. Kill them! The eyes of the Saint Kings were filled with cold, murderous intent. They roared and unleashed powerful attacks towards Pangu's Celestial Dipper and White Dragon Horse. These fellows are so crazy? The White Dragon Horse was also startled. It did not expect the hundreds of Saint Kings to shatter the void in order to capture them. They formed a domain of great destruction, leaving White Dragon Horse and Pangu's Celestial Dipper with nowhere to hide. The White Dragon Horse could feel that the surrounding space had become incomparably stagnant. Even its speed of movement had slowed down by quite a bit. Good timing. Pangu's Celestial Dipper's eyes were filled with strong fighting spirit. The mountain-splitting axe in his hand shone brightly. In an instant, streaks of axe radiance shot out from the mountain-splitting axe, surging in all directions like a tsunami. Do you really think you can stop your grandfather with just these? White Dragon Horse chuckled. There was a hint of mockery in its eyes. In an instant, its body flashed and disappeared with Pangu's Celestial Dipper. In the next moment, they appeared in front of the Supreme Saint King. Even Pangu's Celestial Dipper was shocked. He did not expect the White Dragon Horse to be able to use the teleportation technique in the Great Destruction domain. However, he did not hesitate at all. The giant axe in his hand fell from the sky and struck the Supreme Saint King's head. Blood filled the air, and that Supreme Holy King's head was directly split into two by him. Get out of my way! The peerless Saint King roared furiously. Blazing light gushed out of his body as he slammed his palm on the Pangu Celestial Handle mountain-splitting axe, creating a rumbling sound. Old man, have a taste of my Pegasus meteor hammer. I'll hammer you to death. The White Dragon Horse laughed and kicked the peerless Holy King's head with its hooves. The space around them shook violently as the hooves landed on the peerless Holy King's head. The Supreme Sacred King's head exploded like a watermelon. Bush, bush, bush. Pangu Celestial Dipper's eyes flashed sharply. He took the opportunity to slash the peerless Holy King's primordial spirit 3 times in a row. The two of them disappeared into the void in an instant. They kept teleporting, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. They attacked the experts of the 3 immortal Saint Lands fiercely. The attacks of over 100 Saint Kings were instantly destroyed. Pangu Celestial Dipper and White Dragon Horse were naturally no match for them. However, they could not lock onto White Dragon Horse and Pangu's Celestial Dipper at all. Instead, White Dragon Horse and Pangu's Celestial Dipper took advantage of the chaos to kill a few more Saint Kings. Courting death. Monarch Yun II and the other 2 Saint Lords also noticed the situation. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. In just a moment, more than half of the 12 Divine Beings formation was destroyed by White Dragon Horse and Pangu's Celestial Dipper. This made them shocked and angry. Rumble. Monarch Yun II's palm shone brightly. In an instant, a purple ancient saber rose into the sky. It shone brightly and gave off a mighty emperor's aura. It slashed down towards White Dragon Horse and Pangu's Celestial Dipper. Heavenly Punishment Saber. The 9 Imperial Gates Extreme Emperor Weapon. When Heavenly Punishment Saber appeared, lightning filled the sky. A destructive aura spread out. The Heavenly Punishment Saber instantly locked onto White Dragon Horse and Pangu's Celestial Dipper. It was going to kill them both. Boom. At this moment, the War God Hull shone brightly. An ancient seal gave off a mighty emperor's aura. It also soared into the sky and blocked Heavenly Punishment Saber. Rumble. The 2 extreme Emperor weapons collided. Instantly, terrifying shockwaves exploded, causing the void to rumble violently. Monarch Yun II, aren't you afraid of being ridiculed by the world for using an extreme Emperor weapon to deal with 2 juniors? Lu Bai's indifferent and ethereal voice sounded. He activated the Heavenly Emperor seal and blocked Heavenly Punishment Saber's killing blow. Monarch Yun too? That old fart is too shameless. How dare he use Heavenly Punishment Saber to deal with us? Let's kill everyone in the 9 Imperial Gates first. White Dragon Horse's eyes flashed with murderous intent. When Heavenly Punishment Saber appeared, it felt chills all over its body. An inescapable threat of death loomed over it. If Lu Bai did not intervene in time, the consequences would be unimaginable. White Dragon Horse's vengeful nature made it extremely angry at Monarch Yun Tuesday. However, it could not defeat Monarch Yun Tuesday. Therefore, it vented its anger on the people in the 9 Imperial Gates. Rumble. White Dragon Horse carried Pangu's Celestial Dipper and instantly teleported behind a sage ruler. Pangu's Celestial Dipper unleashed its strongest battle strength. The mountain-splitting axe cleaved through the void. It also broke the sage ruler's sea of consciousness and killed his primordial spirit. White Dragon Horse even turned its head and smiled at Monarch Yun Tuesday. Its eyes were filled with provocation. Monarch Yun Tu's face turned ashen. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Lu Bai, your war god shrine is going to be destroyed today. How can you still be in the mood to talk about this? Everyone kill them. Heavenly King Bai and King Pangu must die. Don't let them escape. Monarch Yun Tu said coldly. Bush. At this moment, Heavenly Curse Master and 5 Elements Sacred Master were also surrounded by dazzling light. In an instant, a jade-green scepter and an ancient cauldron surrounded by 5-colored light shot into the sky and suppressed White Dragon Horse and Pangu's Celestial Dipper. Heavenly Curse Scepter and 5 Elements Cauldron. These 2 Extreme Dao Emperor weapons were supreme treasures that could suppress fate. At this moment, Heavenly Curse Master and 5 Elements Sacred Master did not hesitate to use them. Celestial Dipper, Dragon Horse, go back first. Lu Bai's face turned serious. He quickly said to Pangu's Celestial Dipper and White Dragon Horse. Rumble. The Heavenly Emperor's seal suddenly spewed out endless chaotic light. It was like a 10,000 feet tall sacred mountain, heavy and ancient. It directly crashed into the Heavenly Curse Scepter and 5 Elements Cauldron. P.S. 4th update. Everyone, rest early. We will continue tomorrow. Chapter 28-21. Kacha. The void shattered with a loud bang. Chaotic turbulence surged, and endless divine light radiated in all directions. The Heavenly Emperor's seal, the Cursing Scepter and the 5 Elements Cauldron collided and released a destructive aura. Thunder rumbled and divine chains of order intertwined with each other. The 3 Extreme Dao Emperor weapons were flawless Emperor weapons. They were the supreme treasures that suppressed the immortal sanctuary and contained boundless power. Once they were fully awakened, they could even kill a heavenly master. These 3 old things are too shameless. They couldn't catch me, so they took out their Extreme Dao Emperor weapons? Just you wait. Sooner or later, all of your Extreme Dao Emperor weapons will fall into my hands. The White Dragon Horse was also shocked and its eyes were filled with fear. However, when it saw the Heavenly Punishment Saber, the Cursing Scepter and the 5 Elements Cauldron, its eyes were blazing with desire and it was about to drool. Especially the Cursed Scepter that could kill people without leaving a trace. If it was combined with its extreme speed of shifting the heavens, then it would really be invincible, killing gods and demons. Go back. The Pangu's celestial body urged the White Dragon Horse with a solemn expression. The 12 Divine Beings formation had been destroyed by the 2 of them for a while, and many of the array flags and array discs had been destroyed. It was easy to destroy them, but it was not easy to repair them. Moreover, the 2 of them had achieved great results in this battle. They had killed 7 sage kings and hundreds of sages. It was no wonder that the masters of the 3 holy sanctuaries were so exasperated that they even took out their Extreme Dao Emperor weapons. You want to leave? How can it be so easy? Fellow Taoist 5 Elements, you stop Lu Bai, I will kill these 2 ants. A cold light flashed across the Heavenly Curse Master's eyes. In an instant he stepped on the void and pounced on the Pangu's celestial body and the white dragon horse like a bolt of black lightning. At the same time, the cursing scepter in his hand shone with a strange black light. It looked like black lotuses were blooming and it shrouded the Pangu's celestial body and the white dragon horse. The Heavenly Curse sect was best at killing curses, let alone the Heavenly Curse Master. Moreover, the cursing scepter contained the origin of curses and it could kill people silently. It was strange and unpredictable. Heavenly Curse Master, how dare you? Lu Bai's eyes were filled with murderous intent and anxiety. The Heavenly Emperor's seal suddenly expanded in the void like a huge chaotic divine mountain and crashed toward the Curse Master. Among the lords of the three holy grounds, Monarch Yun 2 and 5 elements, Saint Lord might be strong, but if the White Dragon Horse and Pangu Celestial Dipper were to encounter each other, they might be able to hold their own. However, the Heavenly Curse Master was an old monster who was proficient in all kinds of curses. Even Lu Bai was wary of him, let alone the Panga Heavenly Dipper and the White Dragon Horse. If they were hit by the Heavenly Curse Master's curse, the Panga Heavenly Dipper and the White Dragon Horse would definitely die. Lu Bai, your opponent is me. The 5 elements Saint Lord smiled. His smile was extremely bright and clear. His entire person was like a sunny youth. His clothes were as white as snow, and his temperament was extraordinary. However, he stood in front of Lu Bai and blocked his path. The 5 elemental cauldron emitted a 5-colored divine glow which appeared behind him like divine halos, making him look ethereal and mysterious. Rumble. The 5 elemental cauldron also expanded in the void and collided with the Heavenly Emperor's seal once again. It was as if 2 immemorial divine mountains had collided in the void, causing the void to distort. Time and space started to become chaotic, and various strange and bizarre scenes appeared. Although the Heavenly Emperor's seal was extremely strong, it was unable to break through the 5 elemental cauldron seal. In the void, the extreme Tao Emperor aura intertwined and released terrifying fluctuations. Even the extreme Tao Emperor weapon has been summoned. Looks like the War God Temple is really going all out? Someone exclaimed in surprise. So what if they are going all out? Pangu King and Heavenly King Bai are definitely going to die this time. The Heavenly Curse Master is personally attacking with the Curse Scepter. How are they going to dodge it? That's right. Although the Heavenly Curse Master is bullying the weak, this is a sect extermination battle. He can't care so much about it. Everyone's faces were pale. Although they were far away from the center of the battle, the terrifying fluctuations made their bodies tremble and their hearts palpitate. However, they had a premonition that the Pangu Heavenly Dipper and the White Dragon Horse were definitely going to die this time. Rumble. The Pangu Heavenly Dipper and the White Dragon Horse were indeed facing the greatest threat. The black lotuses floated around them, and streams of black and cold aura merged into their bodies, causing their bodies to become extremely stiff. Although the Pangu Heavenly Dipper and the White Dragon Horse were trying their best to resist, their cultivation was still too weak. There was no way they could withstand the Heavenly Curse Master's Curse Scepter. Damn it. This is the Heavenly Curse Scepter. White Dragon Horse, I will burn my origin bloodline to break the Heavenly Curse Scepter. I will block the Heavenly Curse Master for you. You go into the barrier and look for Ling Xiao. The Pangu Heavenly Dipper's face was extremely solemn as he quickly transmitted his voice to the White Dragon Horse. You want me to be a deserter? Impossible. Although I, Heavenly King Bai, am afraid of death, I will never abandon my comrades. Don't pretend to be a hero here. Quickly break the Heavenly Curse Scepter and I will bring you out of here. I will fight with all my might this time. The White Dragon Horse's eyes revealed a hint of madness as it spoke. At this moment, the Heavenly Curse Master had already arrived in front of the Pangu Heavenly Dipper and the White Dragon Horse. His face was extremely cold, and his eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. The Curse Scepter in his hand, in particular, was emitting a jade-green light that gave off the aura of death. Insignificant ants. Today, I will use your lives to announce the demise of the War God Temple. The Heavenly Curse Master said sinisterly. He raised the cursed scepter and smashed it down from the sky. Boom! The Pangu Heavenly Dipper's body suddenly emitted a pure golden flame that seemed to be burning with golden flames. An ancient and noble aura gushed out, and the black heavenly cursed scepter in his body instantly dissipated like snow. He directly grabbed the white dragon horse and teleported into the war god temple. Quick! Only 10,000 feet left. The Pangu Heavenly Dipper said anxiously. His entire body seemed to have turned into a golden man. He was like a golden lightning bolt, and his speed was extremely fast. 10,000 feet was covered in an instant for him. However, the cursed scepter behind him made the Pangu Heavenly Dipper feel that the void had begun to solidify, and time had become extremely slow. He could even hear the blood flowing in his body. His muscles were contracting, and his heart was beating faster. Peek! You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.